Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the June 26th Selectmen Board meeting. I want to welcome everyone at home and everyone out in the audience tonight. So first and foremost, if I may, have everyone rise for the invocation being done by Selectman Doris.
Almighty God, we come before you with great thanks for the blessings you bestow in our community. Lord, as we consider the task of governing, we ask that you would guide our thoughts and hearts, and we would ask that you would grant each of us wisdom and discernment and understanding, realizing that our decisions impact everybody in the community. As always, Lord, we each pray to you in the manner in which we were taught. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we got a pretty hefty agenda tonight. So what we're going to try to do is get to everybody out in the audience first, and I'll get you in and out. So first on the agenda, and I apologize again for running late. We had some discussions before this that ran a little tardy. Is the Ribo's Bistro? Ribo?
Good evening, Jill.
Good evening.
Jill Mann of Man and Man.
Hi, Jill.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, this is a public hearing.
Yes.
The chair needs to so declare the public meeting is open.
Sorry about that.
No more.
Sorry, the public, it is open. Thank you for that, David.
Do you want to open both of the public
kind
hearings
of.
at the same time?
Yeah,
Two separate ones.
is there two separate ones? Yeah, why don't we do
But
that?
they're connected.
Just to keep it. Okay, yeah, so we don't need to vote on that. I can just open up both?
Right.
Okay, yeah, let's open up both then. Thank you, David, by the way, pointing that out. Okay.
Jill Mann here on behalf of both applications. They are most certainly intertwined. And if I may, I'll give you a quick summary of what we're doing. So Ribo's Bistro is the owner and operator for the Black Swan Country Club, which includes the flatbread restaurant, all of the golf carts, the function rooms upstairs, the pool, and the snack shack that operates on the property. Ribo's has been operating those since Mr. Swansburg had taken over in 2010. That's what I thought. Here with me this evening it is Peter Brown, who is one of the agents of Mr. Swansburg, and also Mr. Michael Brooks, who is the potential part owner of the Georgetown Flatbread, which is the subject of the second petition of which we spoke. So basically, since operating, Ribo's has gone through a couple of different changes to the restaurant, and the last of which was the introduction of the Georgetown Flatbread Company, and it has been going very well. Mr. Brooks, if you had seen his resume, has a fair amount of experience with the flatbread companies, and when he came to Mr. Swansburg, the relationship was great, and there was a lot of desire to transition to him some ownership. And the result of which was Mr. Swansburg wanted to actually separate the two entities so that Ribo's would be the operator of the golf course and the function facilities only. No restaurant operations, just the functions. And that the Georgetown Flatbread would be responsible for actually undertaking all of the restaurant operations, including the patio and pool, and even the golf carts, because it was better for him to have that consolidated, where the function is a very limited activity with regard to restaurant and alcoholic beverage service. So that's kind of the broad summary. Okay. So how, in fact, we are seeking to do that is, it's my understanding that there is one available full liquor license for an on-premises operation or establishment. So the way in which we are intending to actually do this particular, if you will, divestiture, is to have an alteration of the premises first that has to be considered. Once the board considers, and if you should deem it proper, to actually allow the premises to be altered. So the liquor license for Ribo's would then exclude all of those operations that Georgetown Flatbread would undertake under a brand new license. So Ribo's Bistro, we do an alteration of the license. So it would simply operate the function facilities with regard to a liquor license. So it would only be on the second floor of that building. It would only be with regard to functions that are held on the second floor. Then we would actually apply for a brand new license, which you're entitled to do. So if you have two separate establishments, even if they're in the same building, you can't have two liquor licenses as long as they are separated with regard to ownership and operation, and these most certainly would be. So then Georgetown Flatbread is here this evening to ask this board for the issuance of a new license to operate Georgetown Flatbread, the barn, no additional locations. It's simply just separating the two. So to be, we call it the carts, right? So the carts that operate on the golf course, Georgetown Flatbread, and then the pool area as well. And then that outdoor patio that's associated with the flatbread, that also would be part of the new license. So it's almost like you were doing an alteration for both licenses, but that's not the way it works. You have to actually apply for a brand new one for Georgetown Flatbread. So in furtherance of all of that, what I included in your application were two things. One was a full set of alteration requests. That's a very simple, straightforward application. It requires that I show you the new floor plan. With that, though, I did submit all of the documentation essentially that is a part of the new petition, because I thought that it was important for purposes of review to have a complete public hearing, if you will, on both petitions. So the alteration does include a copy of the asset purchase agreement. It includes, a detailed clerk's vote, kind of giving you a step-by-step plan of how this is happening. So that's the alteration. Now, with regard to the brand new license, that is a detailed application which requires the submittal of all information that is generally attendant to a brand new license. That being full disclosure of any kind of beneficial interests, query reports on not only Mr. Swansburg, but also on Mr. Brooks, who will not only be a 70% owner or majority owner, but he will also be the licensed manager. It includes a personal statement from Mr. Brooks, because he is going to be the manager, so it gives a detailed report of his basically background. And the query obviously allows you to see that he does not have anything that violates the requirements for being a manager and an owner, which are no felony records, and that he's an upstanding character as well. In addition, we gave you a copy of the asset purchase agreement, which details the pricing of how we sold the particular operations. It also includes evidence that the lease, the lessor had allowed the separation and a partial assignment of the lease, because we had to separate the properties. It also includes an assignment from the Georgetown Flatbread, the franchised entity, demonstrating that we have the legal authority to do that which we are seeking this board's approval to do this evening. That really is a general description, with some detail as well, for what we are seeking here this evening. So I don't know if you have any questions for either me, Mr. Brown, or Mr. Brooks.
Chairman, I have some questions.
Before we do that, David, so there is a letter here before we start talking about this, from a couple of folks that couldn't make the meeting tonight, okay? And I do want to read it just to be fair, okay?
Yes, of course.
So bear with me. Dear board members, and this is really regards to the carts, I guess, that are on the course. Due to prior commitments, we are unable to attend tonight's public hearings regarding the proposed Rabbles Bistro to be located at 258A and the Flatbread Company located at 258B Andover Street. In our stead, we have authorized our neighbor Jim McGuire to speak on our behalf and or to be present to present, this notice to the select board. With respect to the Flatbread Company, we have some concern about the hospitality carts. This service tends to contribute to excessive consumption of alcoholic beverages. which can result in inappropriate behavior which may be witnessed by neighboring domiciles wherein may reside minor children. To wit, public drunkenness, excessive obscene language, and public urination. Both establishments seem to be proposing expanded capacity, which has the potential to cause traffic congestion and increased noise due to crowd activities. We also have concern about the ability of the facility waste disposal system to support frequent crowd events and would like evidence of plans for management of traffic, crowds, and waste. Respectfully yours, Catherine Lamadou, okay, and Suzanne Stewart. So anyway, is Mr. McGuire present? Okay, so I will certainly call on you, if need be, if you'd like to, speak out on their behalf on anything at this meeting, okay? Okay, so to the board, that being said, David.
All right, so this goes back a long ways. When they came to us about the carts and moving the cart time to earlier, especially on a Sunday, I think it was noon or, again, I can't remember, 11 o'clock, because they wanted to have mimosas in the, for wedding showers and baby showers and things like that at the hall. So, there was a lot of discussion around that timing and why do people have to, drink on the golf course? And there's some people in the audience who said they have a better score when they drink. They testified to that, and that's in the minutes. I won't mention any names. Initials are PT. Anyway, so that being said, at that time, we were told there could only be one liquor license for that entire property. And I remember that, I wrote that down, I went back and looked at my notes, and I wrote that down. That I said separated at that point. Is that if the function hall wanted to have mimosas at 10:30 in the morning, why does it have to, then separate it and let them do it? And we were told at that point in time that the property could only have one license.
The property, because it was solely owned and there was no desire from Jack to separate and create a separate entity, he is literally selling to Michael. I mean, he is maintaining a minor interest, but it is two separate operating entities. And I don't think it was I who was here
No,
at
you
that
weren't,
time.
no.
So I have no knowledge of it, but I can assure you, you can have two licenses provided they're a separate entity, separate operating company, separate premises. So you can't, like, I couldn't have two licenses for this room.
Right.
I couldn't have two licenses for up on the function floor. I have to have separate premises to do it.
Okay, so
I
will
don't
they have
know why.
two separate addresses then?
Oh, yeah, 248A, 248B.
Okay, all right, so that may suffice.
Yeah, I don't know
We were
why
told,
that was.
they were adamant about this, and
Yeah.
the attorney that was in the room at the time said, you can only have one license per property.
It's true, you can only have one per premises if
Right.
you are legally combined. So for example, just for lack of a better example, the Danvers Liberty Tree Mall, right? It's all 100 Independence Way. There are 3 liquor licenses there because they're separate units. So you have Total Wines, you have Buffalo Wings, and you have, I don't know what the other
There's
one
another
is.
restaurant there,
Yeah, so you can do that as long as they're separately owned premises and there's least separation.
So that means then, if we do agree to separate these two, we can have more discussion around the golf cart time and days now that they're gonna be separate entities.
I'm not prepared to even talk about it because I didn't even think about modifying what is already in existence. I'm not real sure, because there is no proposal to expand anything. There is none. What is
But
going on goes on.
Once you open
Yeah.
the books, you've opened
Yep.
the books.
No, I know. I just didn't.
Right.
Is there potential to have discussion? This board, within its purview, always has
Right.
authority to discuss anything it should choose.
So we should take them as two independent requests then.
Oh, we have to.
Right, so the first one is to separate out the flatbread to go, in the function hall. So essentially, the function hall is gonna be by itself.
Yes.
And flatbread's gonna take care of everything else.
Yes.
Including the golf carts.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that's a new license.
Yes.
And so we can talk about, if it's a new license, it's not just redoing what we've done in the past. Because it's a new license, right, Joe? It's a new license, so we can
I will tell you
talk
that for
about-
legal purposes and for precedential purposes, yes and no. So
Okay.
it is for purposes of evaluating the credentials of those individuals seeking the permits. I
Right.
mean, I'm not gonna tell, so yes,
So what time does a golf cart, what's the earliest a golf cart can serve golfers in the morning? Do you guys know those times?
I have to double check our old,
You're supposed to have a policy. That was gonna be one of the questions that I had if I.
Let me continue, and then Gary can back me up on this, because I think Gary and I were the only two that were here
yeah.
during this original discussion. So it's a new application for Flatbread to handle the golf cart, the pool.
Yes.
Okay, so what times are you requesting, and what are you requesting?
Okay,
Is that
so-
in this? Because I looked through it today, and I
It
couldn't
isn't.
see,
Yeah, there's no, you know what, there's no place to put it anymore.
right.
It's,
Because I have concerns
these are
about the golf
horrible
carts.
application
I've had
forms.
concerns about it from the beginning. I've had concerns about it when, we're letting our kids out at school at 2:30 in the afternoon. I've also had concerns on Sunday mornings when people that abut the golf course want to have a nice, sit out on their back deck, and I was told, oh no, we have to do it because of the mimosas being served for,
so you can't start before 10 anywhere in Massachusetts, no matter what.
But what are your hours now? Do you
Are
don't
they
know those?
10?
I don't think it's
Are
that
they?
that early.
I mean, we start loading up around 10 and then we get out on the course around 11.
Yeah.
So basically we're in the restaurant.
Yeah, see, I was pushing for later in the, 1, 2 o'clock on a Sunday, to give people a quiet enjoyment, I was really concerned about the people that abut the golf course.
And I have to tell you that legally, you're entitled to cut them back to, you don't have to give them the right to serve early because of the blue laws. But when you try to impose a restriction on hours that goes deeper than that,
Okay, so what are the blue laws, Joe?
I think it's noon, not even think, I know.
It's new. Okay. So it's a new application, but yet you haven't submitted to us what you want for hours.
There's no place to do it. Usually you
So
talk about
what
it
is the
here.
request?
So during the week, we would ask for normal hours. I think it's 10 to 1 is normal, but what time do you really operate until?
Until we, on the weekends, 10 p.m. And then the weekdays 9 p.m.
Because
Yes,
here's the problem, if we cut back the golf cart, it also cuts back the restaurant.
it does,
So that's part of the issue, but,
yes.
and this was the issue that we had 8, 9 years ago, whatever it was when we
We were
first came on.
Georgetown was taking it to court.
Right. So I'm talking about the earliest. I'm not worried about the evening.
Sure.
So what is your actual request with this application?
And we
For-
were looking
to
for
begin
11, right? You
11
wanted-
a.m.?
Yeah, the restaurant opens at
at
11.
11.
Okay. But the golfers are out there earlier.
Yes.
But the carts, what time do the carts load up and go out?
Usually it's around 11.
Yeah, it's the
11.
same, so when the restaurant operates, the golf carts operate.
All right. So the actual request is 11
Would be
a.m.
11, yep,
7 days a week?
oh, yes.
Okay. So this board has an option, based on the blue laws, to move Sunday back to noon if we wanted to.
Or to 10, yes, you have that option.
Well, okay, so
But if you move it to noon, then you don't allow us to serve brunch until noon at the restaurant either. But that is the case.
Okay, but it was always the function hall that was doing the brunch.
Oh, okay, you don't serve brunch?
No, flatbread not anymore, right? 'Cause
I mean, I
flatbread
would
doesn't
like to
do brunch.
entertain it, over the course of time, but as of now, we do not serve brunch in
Right.
any sorts.
I know that the restaurant, the function hall was for a while there doing brunch. Okay, so the request is begin at 11 a.m. until closing, which is what,
I prefer to say 11 because,
11 to 11,
yeah, is that okay?
7 days a week?
Yes, please?
That's the request. Okay.
Yes, the request, yeah.
All right. The other question I had, is Alan out? He sold all his shares?
Oh,
Alan,
yeah, a
was
long
it-
time
he's
ago.
gone, right?
Yes.
He's out.
Yes, since 2010
Not that I
he's
have
done.
anything against Alan, I.
No, very
13.
nice man, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I saw that in here,
Oh,
we sold his
13, okay.
his
Oh, yeah,
1,000
that's
shares.
right, because you did the transition, right?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we have an understanding that the request is 11 to 11, 7 days a week, and that would include, you're just parsing out the function hall.
Oh, that's it, yes,
So that's one request.
yes.
Can we talk about the second request, or do we have to stick with this one first, Mike?
However the board so choose, you open both.
Yeah, we opened both of them.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
say.
so
we'll-
we
we'll
could-
try
So
it
then,
again.
all right, so then the second request, is that just a transfer, Or is that a total new license too?
Oh, no, that's just an alteration, so Ribos keeps its license,
Okay.
and we
So it's
just.
an alteration of name and ownership.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's
And who's
no
the principal for
alteration
that?
of name or ownership, it's just an alteration of premises. So
Okay,
I
got it,
exclude,
got it.
anything below the second floor, I'm excluding.
And the manager is still the
Yes,
same manager?
Yes, Tony, yes,
Totally,
it is.
okay, good.
No changes at all, except for the exclusion of space.
All right. So those are all my questions at this point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Gary, I know you had some questions?
Not at this point.
No? Steve?
The pool area, so what premise is that part of? So what,
It's going to be part of Georgetown, I mean, the flatbread.
the flat,
You say
right?
probably say that, because
Okay.
people can think, yes.
Okay,
So the restaurant would manage and run it.
gotcha, okay. Yeah, so-
Yeah, Doug?
I don't have any questions. Now what would happen, no, what would happen if the board said, we don't want alcohol served on the golf carts?
Sure. Then we would just honestly withdraw both applications, and we'd keep going the way we are. We don't have a choice to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd speak on that particular show. I'd like to see, just one person, if we're gonna make a motion on this, is that the golf carts, be in line with the blue laws on Sundays. For me,
Mhm.
personally, you know, if I could kick it to 3 o'clock, I would, but I don't think we could really do that without facing some litigation issues. So, for me, you know, I would say 11 to 11, 6 days a week, and then on Sundays, in conjunction with the blue laws, which is what time?
Dave, when you say 11 to 11,
11 a.m. to 11 p.m., right? Jill, is that what you were requesting?
I think it was
11 to 11.
Like a license
You can go
plate.
as early as 10 a.m. We weren't seeking that
Right.
because the restaurant opens
Right.
at,
So 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and a golf cart in conjunction with blue laws, which is noon, right?
you can go to noon.
Right. That's as far as we can basically go. We can go as far as we want without fighting over it.
Yeah.
So that would be my suggestion.
Could I ask
Sure.
a couple of questions? If on Sunday you go to noon, does that mean the restaurant can't serve from 11 to 12?
Right. Yeah, because it's one license.
Right, okay.
It covers all of it.
Okay. Now, the second question is, are there any complaints on record of, I know you have that letter that
Yep.
you just read, but in the past couple of years, I mean, other than that letter, is there anything else?
I've talked to homeowners, and there, a gentleman that was selling his house that said, you know, there's people urinating in his yard. I mean, I don't think you're gonna stop that no matter what happens. I mean, you know, people don't have to be intoxicated to do that, right?
Right.
But the more, in my opinion, the more we scale back the golf cart, the better, especially on a Sunday. I just concerned about people wanting to have quiet enjoyment on their back deck, and then they're here, and, you know, people starting to drink that early, get kind of liquored up, and then, you know, they're probably done with their round by 4 or 5 o'clock, you know, and leaving, again, or even earlier in the middle of the day. And for me, it just causes issues. I mean, again, if I could wipe out the golf cart completely on a Sunday, I would. But I don't think that that's truly being fair and competitive in the area, so. But there are some golf courses, particularly the one I play on a Sunday, there is no liquor cart, so. But a lot of people bring their own, not me, because I don't drink, you know, but that much on a Sunday. Maybe afterwards, may have a beer, but after that, so anyway, so that would be my suggestion, would be 11 to 11, 6 days a week, and then on Sundays from noon till closing. That's just a suggestion, I haven't made a motion yet.
hold on a second here. Is there any way, because I think the real issue here is some of the things that have been outlined in this letter, you know, regarding, you know, people that are around and, you know, kind of what they're seeing. Is there a way for anybody to be on the course to, you know, quote unquote, police this? I think people would feel a lot better about it, you know, if there's someone around, you know, kind of policing what people are doing on the course.
Well, we do have rangers who are in carts who go around
Always.
periodically. I mean, I can't
Never
say
seen
it's, oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we do police, you know, to make sure people are moving along. You know, we don't want to back up on the golf course. That gets people aggravated and hurts the whole process. So we do try and keep things moving. We do watch, people's behavior. It's not an easy thing, golf is a sport where you sometimes may, get a little frustrated and yell a few words you wouldn't normally yell. And, on a Sunday morning, that can echo a lot more than it might on a normal day. We don't have a lot of abutters, I guess fortunately, but we do try and police it and keep things the way they should.
How many portalets do you have on the course?
We have, they're in 3 different areas. And we have one near the abutters on Andover Street, right after the 10th hole. We have the clubhouse, which people hit after 9. We have one out on the 14th hole, and we have one on the 7th hole. So we try to have them spaced appropriately. We also have the issue of how the truck can get to it with some of the wetlands and the crossings and so forth. So although it sounds like it would be easy to figure out a place to have it, it's not quite as easy as it looks. So we do have 3 locations plus the clubhouse, so 4 locations to hit during the round.
I'm just thinking out loud here.
Sure.
Would the addition of 1 or 2 more on the course help to alleviate, along the abutters
Well,
side?
people are difficult to police on that. I mean, you can have a porta potty 30 feet away, and some people aren't going to use it.
Right.
So,
But most reasonable people
correct.
would seek the porta potty rather than a tree.
Right. I mean, we're happy to look at that. We added one last year, and it took us quite a while to figure out the right way to where we could put it so that it worked for the flow of people and to be able to get the truck in there to service it once a week. So we'd be happy to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's worthwhile
Oh, sure.
to consider.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Is there any signage?
Oh, it's really.
Is there any signage on the course in the clubhouse, anything like that? Kind of, letting golfers before they even tee off to basically say that, listen, use the porta potties basically, and that people that are, caught are subject to getting thrown off the property. Something along those lines.
There's not a specific sign to that extent. I mean, we'd be open to posting something.
Does the board feel like that would help?
Yeah, I was gonna say something just about, we wanna be good neighbors to the abutters, and just for people to keep that in mind as they're playing.
Sure. That's very
Maybe a
reasonable.
suggestion to put it on the card. Put it right on the card
Yeah.
that says, state, do not infringe on private property and please use the urinals and men's rooms and ladies'
We
rooms.
water
as
our
appropriate.
grass, you don't have to.
I put it right on the card, then you don't have to have a separate sign and go through the expense of it. Just when you print the cards, put it on the card.
Sure.
And remind people when they pay. Have the clubhouse, the pro shop just say, look, make sure that you stay on the course and use the porta potties. I mean, that's I think that's an easy fix and a very, very inexpensive fix for you guys.
I think anything like that, you have to have consequence as well, though.
Oh no, so it was right on the
so,
card.
I mean,
I think there's
So
some.
they have the ability to
Yeah.
throw
Oh,
people
yeah.
off
Yeah.
the course, if, sure, okay. I think, I would like to see that. If, I think that would work.
Without a refund, something that says
Sure.
if you abuse these rules, you'll be subject to removal without a refund. Right on the card. It's a cheap print. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's
easy
fine.
fix.
It can go as, it can be as no, I'm not gonna say easy as that, but, if people know that in the back of their minds, unless they're really, 3 sheets to the wind, I think they keep that in mind a little bit more.
I mean, when I've hit houses on golf courses, I've been embarrassed to even go near their property.
Yeah.
Never mind go on it and urinate.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yes, Gary, go ahead.
when you get around. Yeah, this is more to this side of the board. No, I could wait if you wanted me to, with what I would mean. How many licenses can we have in town? Any idea? I thought I heard this man mention we're allowed one more.
No, I knew you had
At
enough
least-
for
we've
me,
got
at
three,
least
four.
one.
Yeah, I thought we-
Oh, you could have more than that.
14.
Yeah, we've got.
Okay, and we're not near that.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure I wasn't cutting out any other development in town in any way. And now, and I wanna make, to me, I'm questioning, are we doing this all legal? If you're dividing the businesses on there, are you going to need separate occupancy permits? Do you now are putting two businesses on one, and I'm not even sure that you're zoned to do that.
So the way.
Can you answer that
Of course
question?
you can, absolutely. So the way a building is zoned is you have occupancy for the entire building, and how it works is just, do you have a sufficient room and occupancy? So it's already done. The building is permitted for function and restaurant usage, and the occupancy is based on bathrooms, which isn't changing. You don't permit an occupant, you permit the building.
Yes,
don't have a
but you're-
business.
But my question is,
Yeah.
does the zoning, it's just like, I couldn't turn my house into a separate apartment.
Right, but
You're now turning your business into two businesses.
and you always are entitled to do
And so I would,
this.
if I would look at it that as, before somebody comes to us, they go, we ask, have you been to the building inspector? Have you got a permit?
You-
And so that's the question I'm asking.
You don't
Has
get-
a new business got a permit?
You don't really do it like that, it's not.
Well, I'm not so sure.
I-
You know, I don't wanna do something tonight and then find out that this perhaps should have been in front of the planning board.
Yeah, no, that's fine, I'm sure of it. The way it works for commercial properties is you can have multiple uses, you can even, with
If
restaurant.
it's permitted within.
Your zoning permits you to have multiple retail restaurant facilities in one location. If you look at any retail mall, they're all of the same exact premises, they're just separated by walls. We have to separate all of our kitchens, everything has to be, basically lockable, and you can lock the Georgetown flatbread wall opening. I mean, it is most certainly permitted. It's not, you can't compare it to a residential use where you can't have a two-family. When you zone businesses, you simply zone them for any use that can actually fit.
I hear you, but
Well,
I
it is, I
wanna
mean, you
see
can,
something from you're starting a new business, and as far as I'm concerned, that business needs to be inspected and needs an occupancy permit from the building inspector.
the occupancy permit exists, and yes, they always are inspected before you issue
It
a liquor
exists
license.
for what you have now.
And
It's
it's-
not, you're gonna need a new one for Georgetown flatbed.
That isn't really how it works, no. You don't, when you look at your liquor licenses, that's how it works. You don't.
That may be fine for the liquor license.
It isn't that way. When you zone a particular building, if you read your zoning bylaw, it will allow multiple uses on one premises. I mean, I've been doing zoning for a long,
I'll
long
stop,
time.
we're going down that road right now.
Gary,
I don't
hold
know
on
how
one
to-
second. Mike,
Yeah.
Mike, you have
They
any
are operating
opinion on
two-
that for businesses
No.
now?
Have
You
we
don't have
asked
anything? Okay,
town
No
council?
knowledge on that.
no knowledge on that, okay.
But they're operating, Mr. Chairman, they are operating two separate businesses right now.
Correct.
But it's one liquor license to service both businesses. That's all they're trying to do is, the second business just wants a liquor license.
That's just-
That's
we're
all
just-
it is. They already have permits, building permits,
course.
inspected by the building inspector and issued to operate the function hall
Yes.
and operate flatbread.
It's
They
just
already
under
have
one,
it.
yeah.
They already have it. This is just a matter of, this liquor license services both entities. It's just a matter of breaking out and the liquor license to one entity and then a new one for the other. They already have their permits. They're already open and operating as two separate businesses, Gary, with two separate
Under
addresses.
one name, they're not operating as two
No,
separate
no, it's two different
businesses. Yes, they've got two names, but. Read this.
I did.
I just had one more thing, and that was
Yeah.
just to say as before, and I thought that we had something on record, of course, it shouldn't be up to us to provide that. Before, as you know, I very rarely vote for this license because I do have that big of a problem with the carts. And we did see a policy at one time, we were presented with a policy of this would be when the carts operate. and I think that you might have thought of that, knowing my position, and I did not see that in here anywhere.
I did not know of your position. Had I known, I definitely would have submitted it, but we can absolutely provide that to you. That's not a problem at all, not at all.
Well, in that case, if I can, Mr. Chairman, as a
hold on.
suggestion.
Dave, if I may, I know Steve
Oh,
was
Steve,
waiting.
go ahead.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Steve.
just a question for town administrator. Have we heard anything from legal counsel regarding is there anything that they're concerned with here? Is there
We didn't have them
from a legal
review it. We-
perspective? Okay,
Janet usually works directly with the state on this.
okay.
Okay, David?
So here's the question to Gary's point, and I think it's a very legitimate point, is that even if the permit says that you can operate the golf cart at 11 so that you can use the restaurant, what about an internal policy or submitted to us that says even though we can't operate the, can't operate the carts at 11, we won't start the carts till 1 o'clock? Would you consider something like that? Even though you have the authority to do it, yet the restaurant can start, right, at 12, but the carts won't start till 1 o'clock.
You mean 11, because that would be the, what we do now?
Well, I said, what, noon
11
time?
till 11, and then
Right,
noon.
if we said 11 to 11, 7 days a week, but you gave us your assurances that you would not start the golf carts until in the noon, well, we can enforce noon. We'd be looking for a little
Yeah.
more than that, say 1 o'clock, but yet the restaurant can start at 11 if you want. I mean, I think that would make me feel even better. That's to Gary's point, is even though you have the authority to, doesn't mean you have to, right? So if you come back to us and said, look, we would consider that, you know, for an 11 to 11, 7 days a week, so that the restaurant and the pool can start off at 11, but the golf carts, our own internal policy won't be till 1 o'clock,
7 days a week, or are you talking just on Sunday?
just on the Sunday,
Just on Sunday?
just on the Sunday. I mean, would you consider that?
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to consider it. I mean, this is, you're talking 28 days, you know, 7 months, 4 Sundays. I mean,
I don't think it matters, to be honest. I think you guys should have did your homework, knowing that we are pretty adamant against, there's some people on this board that were not happy with Sundays at all. If I had my way, I would say no car on Sunday at all, but we know that's gonna get litigated and there's gonna be a problem, because everybody else can do it. But that's just, I mean, again, but I'm surprised you didn't come with a request on the hours and the times.
There's no place to do it.
Right,
Yeah,
but
that's why.
just
That
one
truly
sheet
is why.
from Joe Mann that says this is the
I-
request.
Exhibit
yeah.
D.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you have to understand that the applications come in and it's the way you do it, and you're supposed to negotiate it when you come in. I mean, I would have asked for the same exact thing I'm telling you now. I wouldn't have budged. I would have been, 10 a.m. on. I would have. So we do come in and we do ask, and we were simply seeking to keep the status quo of our old license. Now, I recognize that the board's asking us to consider modifying that, but we simply were looking to take what we had before, which was the earlier starts, and move it basically to this particular,
We're not modifying the one you're transferring. This is a new application and a new request.
but I mean, and I absolutely agree, and we know it's more semantics, because the existing operations are the same, so when you go forward and you actually look, the way it is reviewed by the ABCC and whether or not conditions are properly employed and distributed is whether or not there really has been notorious, issues, and there really haven't been notorious issues with regard to the property on Sundays. We don't have any complaints. I never heard from anybody that there had been an issue until right now.
well,
If I could, Mr. Chair, so that, yeah, I
And
mean,
then go in.
I don't have the background that other members of the board have, in terms of this issue or complaints. I mean,
What do I have?
I haven't heard any. For the last 10 years, who's been receiving the complaints
They have come in.
about this? Have they?
Yeah, I actually
come
met with
in?
the homeowner and showed me video, so.
This is
I mean,
It's a while ago.
Been
Again,
discussed many
free
times.
Jack
It's been
Swansburg.
discussed.
Okay,
well,
that's
so
not
you're
fair
trying to
either.
penalize it
That's
from something
7
from
years
Peter
ago.
Wodgkin days?
Oh,
I mean,
back-
no,
listen,
come on.
I'm going back to the possibility still exists.
Well,
Again,
as you so eloquently said earlier,
Right.
we can just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we came in here because we're trying to be good corporate citizens and lay out what we're doing, show you what's happening, and do it by the letter of the law. We can keep doing what we're doing, and if that's what we need to do, I guess that's what we'll do. I mean, to try and penalize us for something that happened 10 years ago under different ownership is not reasonable and logical. Now, if you have problems with a liquor license and people drinking using a beverage cart, that's fine. You know, I can understand that.
Right.
I don't drink playing golf.
Right, me neither.
But other people do. They find it fun. We make some revenue off it. I can't deny that we don't make money off it. We try and police it as much as we can. I think our record, especially since Mr. Swansburg has taken over in the past 7 years, has been very good. We work very hard upstairs on the functions. That's where, you know, when you have a wedding going from 6 o'clock to midnight, and people possibly leaving after drinking, that's probably where there's more risk, and we take that very seriously. So, you know, you're asking us to penalize ourselves. And if you do, we'll just withdraw and keep doing what we're doing.
So, well,
So,
yeah, let
so
me
if I
answer-
can finish though.
Yeah, sure.
Let me finish what I
Let's
was
work
saying.
this
So again, I haven't heard of anything. You know, typically when we have concerns like this, we ask our police chief, you know, to be present, to give us a report on how many complaints have been, you know, within the past X amount of days. I don't know if we have that available now or if we could do that. Also, I think we have a member of the audience that, you know, I mean, if there is opposition, we should probably hear from them as well, yeah. But from my standpoint, you know, trying to be fair, I don't doubt that there were concerns X amount of years ago. I haven't, you know, it was the first time I've heard of them, but if our police chief and town administrator haven't received complaints from you guys since you've been owners, I think that's a pretty good record in my book. You know, obviously, you know, limiting the time, and you guys have agreed to that, I would be in favor of kind of pushing it back on Sundays, just for, you know, if you live on the course, it is kind of enjoyable just to sit out there, you know, without getting hit in the head or you know, or just people being a little bit too crazy in the morning. So I think with that said, I don't have an issue with this. I'm just concerned or confused that we don't have anything on our end to substantiate the facts of what we're saying here today. And that's just my
That's
That's
the
just
date
my
of the
view.
letter, Mr. Chairman. What's the date of that letter?
Today.
Today.
Yep.
So, okay, we've got somebody back there that's waiting to chime in. I said from the beginning, it's not the alcohol that's gonna always cause this problem, right? I'm not holding you to the standard when the other guy owned the place either, but there have been complaints, all right? That's dated today. We got somebody right there that's gonna probably get up and say, I won't say probably, but gonna get up and say, some of this stuff still goes on. All I'm trying to do is reduce the risk. That's all. And I'm not trying to penalize you guys, all right? I have my own philosophical ideas about the golf cart, the drinking on the golf cart on a Sunday. That's just my own philosophical views. So, with that being said, again, I'm not trying to hurt your business. I'm not trying to hold you to the old standard, but stuff is still going on. Let's be realistic. You can't catch everything. I get it. And how much you pay your rangers an hour? I mean, half of them are probably volunteer. Some may be volunteers out there.
No,
You know, I don't know.
They're
I mean,
all paid.
They're all paid. You know, they're not police officers that are going to yell at
Well,
people.
I mean, any place where you have the public, we have 30,000 rounds of golf.
It's hard. I
You
get
have
it.
that many people in a public place. If you think, you know, you can't find a few people who take an opportunity to write a letter like that, go on Yelp and give you a bad review, or do something like that, you're not living in the real world.
Right. But saying it never happened. Right?
I never said it never happened.
Well, again.
I said we're making the efforts. We're sending people out to watch. We're doing what reasonable business people would do. I can't guarantee you that somebody's not gonna go urinate on the golf course if I had 10 people out there watching.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, and I think to your point, I don't think there's any business out there that can operate in a vacuum and say, you know what, 100% of 30,000 rounds of golf, there's going to be angels on every single round, right? And it would be a shame, for me to think that 1, 2, 5, 10 people out of 30,000, if that's the not whatever, would really detract from the record of this business. Because if it was 10 people over a summer, I think that's 10 more than we really want, but that's a pretty good number, okay? If it was out of 30,000, 15,000 people urinating on your course, that's a different story. I've golfed on this course many times. I can honestly say I haven't seen one, okay? Seen bad language, kind of goes along with the alcohol and whatever. But I think there's a median, certainly, and I've already mentioned the sign. If I'm going to vote for this, I think I would insist on that, okay? I think that could detract, from some people out there doing that, where if there's no consequence, why are they going to stop, okay? If you give them consequence, okay, they could stop. And if you have a well-placed sign and you word it correctly, then that could help. But again, I would hate to see, some people over the summer, again, detract from a lot of people enjoying, a Saturday, Sunday afternoon on the golf course, and really kind of, taking a tradition on a golf course. Let's face it, a lot of us that go on a golf course almost expect that. So I would hate to see that, but that, that's me. All right, I just don't think that we should bubble everybody all together, with every single person goes on that golf course and does that.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, I am not holding them to the prior owner's standards, and I'm not holding that against them. Definitely not.
So, yeah, Gary.
If I can just make a brief statement, and that's just to let you know, where I stand tonight, my biggest problem is, as I said, the permitting. I just wanna let you know that I can't support this tonight. I just wanna let you know ahead of time before a motion is made, that you understand that. When we've had people in here and you are coming for a new license, and the questions we ask, has the building inspector signed off on this? It does, we ask, are all the bills paid? Now, where the business in there already, we know those answers. But you are coming in for a new license, and those are the questions that we would ask. And the reason I'm wanting to let you know ahead of time, because I don't know how the rest of this board is, but I want you to know, so that if you want to come back, I could feel like I could vote in favor. That's why I'm letting you know. And that's why I told you, I'm pretty sure that in the past you have given us a policy on cart hours. And that allowed me, would allow me to say, okay. But there have been times where, I've been known as, no, you're the guy that votes no, because most of the time, because of the cart, I voted no on this license. And I'm sorry you're not aware of that, but, this piece of property has been in front of us enough to know that. But I know that, we want your business, or at least I want your business in town. I think you're operating a good business, and so I do want this to go ahead for you. But I just want you to know that tonight I would be a stumbling block for you. But I would hope that in the future, if some of these questions I have are answered, I would certainly say okay.
Steve, you have another question?
Yeah, I don't know if we could ask the chief if he has
Public
any.
hearing? You can do it.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
if we've had any
Well, Mr.
incidents.
Chairman, I certainly would have come prepared with some type of data analysis for call volume and calls for service up there. I've been on the department for 32 years, so I've been through every owner, including a cow farm when the property was a cattle farm. So the years have passed with the ownership of the Georgetown Country Club. Of course there were problems, and we made national news with that place. Since the new owner has taken over, Jack Swansburg, it's an engaged business. They're very police friendly. They have numerous details on every function that they have at the facility.
Have I, if I were to go off the top of my head, have we responded up there for our neighbors in the event someone's acting inappropriate, like the gentleman said on the golf course? We would respond, and we would deal with that. The numbers are certainly not what they were under the previous ownership, because the new owner actually reconfigured the golf course. He changed the nines, he made some boundary changes on the properties on the Andover side. The porta potty situation, I know the paths were changed. I don't know all of the nuances, but there was definite change because they're an engaged business here in our community. If it was an ongoing problem that required immediate attention by the police, I would be aware of that, but I don't want to comment on the particular data because you'd ask me how many calls for service we've had in 2016, 14, and 15, and I just don't have that in front of me. I was not prepared to talk about this topic tonight.
Chief, barring any real numbers, do you find it excessive?
I do not.
Okay. So,
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a
All right.
motion that we approve the application for, this is the new one, right? So under the name of, what's the new name, Jill?
Georgetown Flatbread
Yeah.
LLC.
All right, so I make a motion that we approve the Georgetown Flatbread application for a liquor license, with the hours being 11 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday,
11
p.m. Yeah, that's like, no time. 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then, Monday through Saturday, and on Sundays, noon to 11 p.m. And I don't think you can put the signage as a requirement of approval, because the state's gonna, I think we can talk about that.
We're gonna put the signs on
That'll
the
be-
carts.
That'll be on your honor type deal.
You're gonna see them on the
appreciate,
carts.
I would appreciate that.
So that's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a
Chairman.
motion and a second. Yes.
Before you take a vote, I think you should ask for public input. Seeing
I-
how this is a public,
Right.
hearing.
It was a good recommendation, absolutely. Is there any other public opinions out there? Any feedback, comments? Actually, you know what, now that as a matter of fact, this letter, are there any other comments regarding, from the board as well? Management of traffic, crowds and waste. I don't feel like, I think we have to talk about that. I don't see that being a huge problem. So, any comments out there?
I would, Mr. Chair, like to add for
Yes, Chief?
our neighbors, specifically that border the golf course, that if they are having problems, that they immediately call us. I know that the management of the golf course, specifically the golf course operation, is very engaged with us, and they will certainly help us vet out anybody that's acting inappropriately on the golf course. We will respond with diligence to any issue for our neighbors of the golf course, equally in partnership with the golf course. Our residents are important to us. I want to make sure that if they are having a bad time, as they did years past, and there's some modifications that can be made. I too have been on the golf course. I live in this community. I was under the impression, I think there is some signage on the course on that, what used to be number 1, I think it's 10 now. When you make the turn, I think there's a house there. There's signage. And also too, if property's staked white, you're not supposed to walk on out of bounds property anyways. He says he goes on people's property, it's a ball, someone's yard. No,
No, I don't. I don't. No, if I hit somebody's house,
I think you
That's
better
breaks the
window, he runs.
That's real golf etiquette. If it's staked white, you stay out. You lose your ball.
could say I might
Just one man's opinion.
pull the pool.
Any other comments?
Yeah, procedural question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Trapani.
What is the existing license now? It's 11/11, 7 days a week? Is that what I understand? Right? And so we're just trying to move Sunday back?
I think it was, yeah.
And
No, but we're not, no, because the other one we're transferring, I would,
This is
again,
just a new one.
this is for the new
The old
one.
license that covered this was from 11 to 11.
yes.
Right,
Correct,
that'll get
Monday through
transferred
Sunday.
over
And
after the
the-
vote on this, but that was my question. Should we do the other one first before we do this? Because I think we withdraw their application, now they have 2 licenses.
You don't, we with, quite honestly, we have to talk. Jack is gonna be a little dismayed because he does like to begin the service at 11 because that's what's anticipated. I do understand about the desire to keep Sundays and somewhat sacrosanct. But the difference between an 11 and a 12, honestly, isn't causing drunkenness. It is just about the people going on the golf course. I mean, in golf courses that don't allow hospitality carts then don't really police the drinking, and then you have people bringing it on, and then you have problems because people litter everywhere and they're hiding it, and then you really have an issue. Here, we do monitor it because we have to. We don't allow anybody to bring alcohol in, and when we see it, then penalties can apply by the private management because that's illegal. So, when we don't have the liquor serving and we can't do it at 11 o'clock, you're asking us to cut back, change it, so now our patronage is like, okay, look, we were waiting till 11, we know we have it. Some people have their golf times, sounds silly, but some people have their golf times because they know when they can and when they can't. When you have the real golfing fanatics who all have that group that all go out at 6 a.m. they start. They're not the ones drinking. The ones who are drinking are people who are teeing off later anyway. But then when they finish, right, they go into Flatbread and they can't have a drink. And a lot of them start at 6 and finish at 11. They can't have a drink. So you go in for lunch. My husband does it. He golfs at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now they go in for lunch, they have a drink, they can't.
Did we say 11 to 11 though?
No,
My
we said
motion was for Sundays to.
But on
Sunday-
was noon.
Sunday's going to noon.
So that's what Peter just said to me is the issue, and I wish I could. I mean, we can create various policies. We're trying to police it. We do a very good job policing it. I understand that there's always going to be people aggrieved, but you could tell from what Chief Cudmore just said that there isn't this vast amount of people complaining. And when we change, you are changing our business dynamic because on Sunday they come
Jim,
in.
with all due respect, you have come in to change your business dynamic, not us.
And we don't have to do that. We don't have to separate, and we don't have to change.
I just want to.
I know. Nope,
It's your
Mr.
request. We didn't
Surface.
call you up and say, come in here because we want to change it. You
Mr.
came in and
Surface,
changed it.
I agree 100%, but what we were trying to do
Yep.
is actually create a golf, we were trying to create two different entities to be able to have a bifurcated business model that Mr. Brooks could actually be the, if you will, majority owner, because that's what he would be. He is not the majority owner of Ribos Bistro. So there is that different element, and I agree we did come in. It's just that I need this board to understand that a change from 11 until 12 actually impacts our business dynamic because when people come in, they no longer have the same experience. They just don't.
So
And-
we're saying 11 for every day but Sunday.
That was my motion. You guys can vote it in or vote it out.
Yes. Okay. So further discussion, Doug.
Is Mr. McGuire in this room? Do you have something to say?
My name's James McGuire, 340 Andover Street. I just let you know that I've lived at that before the golf course was there, and we've gone through years of good and bad relationships with the golf course. And you've pretty much gone over everything of my concern as far as, what I don't see is why alcohol is served on the course. I don't see why golf and alcohol are, if you want to have a drink, we'll go up to the clubhouse and have a drink. Why does it have to be served on the course? And there are issues, of course, public urination, the loud, vulgar language, and it continues. It continues. I don't know what rangers or what these are, but we have put up with it since the beginning, and that we were there first, and have to put up with this. Mrs. Lahamadou that wrote the letter this woman is scared. She is scared because of these people that come next to her house, are loud and inebriated. And this is an elderly woman, and this shouldn't be happening. That this golf course was put into a residential area, and we've had to put up with the behavior of people that are drinking. And you might take it lightly, but we do not. We do not. Chief Cudmore knows over the years how, I can't be, sometimes I get a little carried away. I think Officer Scott.
Not at all, Jim.
Well,
I think your complaints have been legitimate, and I think, we've tried to work with especially your side, and we've tried to do the best we can with our manpower.
You have, and I've told you before that you're always welcome on my property. You wish.
Absolutely.
And, but there's still a lack of control. We still hear language Sunday morning, people scream aloud, and you've got children that are, you know, you've had situations where, I mean, you have groups up there, and there were strippers there. I mean, these women were taking their clothes off. There were a teenage boy that witnessed it all, and what is that all about? Why does golf have to be associated with alcohol and this type of behavior? Like I say, we were there first, and have put up with this since the golf course went in. And it's just a lack of control, and I don't see where alcohol should be served on the golf course. It should be controlled in a restaurant, patios, or wherever you want, at the clubhouse. Then it's caused problems. You've pretty much gone over it, but that's where it is. And,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
okay.
Mr. Giovanni.
Phil Trapani, 10 Hillside Drive. So, look, I know we've had, when I was serving on the board with a couple of you guys in the past, this has come up in the past, a few different things, and I said it then and I'll say it now. One, I guess I'm one of them who like to actually have a drink on the golf course and a few drinks on the golf course for a 5-hour round. And I know many of you guys as well up there, whether you admit it or not. And we're all professionals, and we can handle alcohol. We don't get to get out that often to go have a drink. So, you know, going to play golf on a Sunday to have a couple of drinks is actually in a social event. It's not just a sports event. And this board, as well as many other boards, give out liquor licenses for, you know, Sunday brunches to seniors, to many different venues in town in the past. I don't think it's any different than, you know, allowing golfers to have a drink on the golf course out there. I mean, for God's sakes, we have problems in our own town, on our own public properties. You're not going to get a zero tolerance, you know, a zero problem business. I think the Black Swan and the Flatbread Company are incredible partners to this town. They do a tremendous job in helping fundraise for many of the different entities in town. And I'd like to see these guys continue and not get penalized for trying to do the right thing and separating the liquor license. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Dawes.
Just to address Mr. McGuire's question, I wanted to ask that question. Do you limit the number of drinks a person can purchase while they're on the golf course? Is there a limit to that, or can they
We don't serve
buy as
intoxicated.
many as they want?
I mean, the people on the cart are taught to, you know, look for that, and we don't overserve. We don't specifically, you know, check off, Joe just bought 4 beers, and so we can't serve them, you know, for the next 4 hours or something.
You know, some places have tickets. Here, you buy
Yeah, no, we
4
don't,
tickets.
we don't do that. I mean, but we teach the drivers and the servers.
So for tips training, if somebody orders 4 beers, they have to show you that 4 people with you. You aren't allowed to overserve one individual, and all of those people are tip certified.
I'm just asking to see that
No,
the
of course.
controls are in place.
Right.
I mean, personally, I could care less about drinking, and I don't think alcohol should be on the golf course anyhow. But that's just, I would not want to impede on the rights of adults to, you know, be able to have a libation while they play golf. But I said, as long as it's properly controlled and monitored, then it is. But we have to make sure, just to do double duty, to knowing now that there's some neighbors that are concerned. You know, so that's why I asked you about if maybe another portalet or 2 might help, or something on that idea, so you can continue the business and address issues that come up. And I think there can be common ground found that could make the neighbors happy and the golfers too.
Well, I think that's, hold on one second. I think it's also, it needs to be repeated, by the way, that, you know, first and foremost, I'm gonna echo what Phil said, and that, you know, Flatbread has been, you know, a real friend, you know, to certain, fundraising, you know, abilities that we've had in town, and I've really appreciated it. You know, we really appreciate, you know, the entire business. And I think that having, you know, this kind of hearing kind of maybe alerts you, you know, to some of the issues that this board has, but also, you know, Mr. McGuire has encountered, you know, over the years. And at the very least, you know, has given you some food for thought to maybe, okay, you know what, we can maybe do this a little better, you know, and do this a little better to kind of limit, you know, those phone calls to Chief Cudmore, right?
Sure.
But, you know, I have to also, you know, mention to the board again that this is something that they didn't have to do, okay? They can certainly just get up and leave and still operate the way they are currently operating, okay? I see this as a courtesy more than anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. Because if we don't, again, they're just gonna go and operate as they are operating now, correct? You know,
I mean, honestly,
is someone tell me I'm wrong? Because if I am, then
Well,
And I'm wrong.
and if I could
So-
just reiterate, we
no, I-
didn't, there was no disrespect intended on not providing you some times
oh goodness, no.
or any
No,
of
we
that
understand that.
information, because, and part of that is my ignorance of not having come before the board before, only been a couple of years in this position. We saw this as basically just a continuation of what we're doing
Correct.
right now, with, you know, crossing some i's and dotting some t's, and showing you that we're, you know, we're
Yeah.
open and transparent, and nothing's being hidden here. So that's the only reason that we may not have given you as much information as you probably would have liked. So that's an apology from us.
and you know, I'll say, you know, Mr. McGuire, I hope you understand that, okay? That we might not do anything tonight, and they can still go on and operate as they're currently operating. All right, they have a so, you know, again, if someone can tell me I'm wrong, then I see this as a courtesy of you know, this fine business coming, you know, before us to, you know, kind of just do the right thing.
I don't see it as a courtesy to us. They're trying to change their business platform and they have to come in front of us. That's how I see this. I don't see this as a courtesy to the board of the town. They're making a change. They're following the law and they're here, Mr. Chair.
They could operate as is, though, is what I'm saying. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't have to do all this. They could have kept going the way they're going, and
Agree.
you know, we'd all go home, sleep at night, get up tomorrow morning, and they'd be on their merry way, you know, operating. That's my point. So, you know, with that said, you know, I just want to make sure I pointed that out, and again, we do appreciate, you know, everything you do in the town. So, is there any other? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a point of order then. So we just had a second on the
Yes.
motion.
Yep, we need the motion back.
If we did do that, you're not open to that motion, is that what?
Unfortunately, we just can't.
And I have a question as to that, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
And it's more for, whoever can answer this. I thought that as the local licensing authority, I thought that the state pretty much set standards for a license,
We do.
okay, for a certain amount of time. And then if you want to expand them, I thought you come before us as the local licensing authority, because I can remember doing that. I mean, you can allow a place to open up at 8, and I thought that you may have already done that on certain mornings, and then 10, I think, on Sunday. I think you may be there. I don't know if the chief has any answers on that to us. I don't even know that we can say those hours, because that's what got us in trouble with the cart. Because when they first started with the cart, Georgetown put it on there that the cart could only be put on for these hours.
You can't do that, yeah.
Yeah, and we got told by the ABC that we can't do that. And I think we may be told by the ABC that we can't do this. I think,
I thought you said 11, what is it?
It would be voluntary.
No, 8 on
Right.
days.
Yeah, I mean,
We've already adopted the early Sunday opening.
that's what I thought. But that's for one, and I think they're wanting to keep that for the function hall, which I can understand.
I know, folks have breakfast.
But
there. So-
do you know what the state hours are? And I don't think that we can really change them.
I'm pretty sure we've adopted the early opening.
So state hours,
Sundays.
Monday through Saturday, is 8 AM to 1 PM. Those are state hours.
I think you gotta come before us for the 8.
I think you have to come before you to open at 10 on Sundays, but 8
Okay,
is
that
like.
one, okay,
yeah.
maybe that's it.
Yeah, but you're 100% right. So it's the blue laws that required you to come back because you can never open before 10 AM on a Saturday, and, on a Sunday, and only if you, at town meeting, adopted that law. Other than that, it's always noon, and then it used to be only noon till 6, but restaurants can go beyond.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, the motion may not
Well,
actually
you're really not, you're not supposed to. That's why I asked Mr. Brown, I said, look at what do you operate right now? That's why when you ask me what your hours are, I'm like, whatever they are right now. But I swore that you didn't give us early open on Sunday, and you don't have to.
I don't know, you have to come yearly for that?
No, you come once,
I think
and
we
then
have.
you do it once at your town meeting, and then once when you do the liquor license, you come back to get the brunch license, if you will. That's what I always call it.
10 AM, the selectmen did vote to allow 10 AM.
They did,
The town has approved that.
on Sunday.
on Sunday.
Okay. So it was 10. Yeah, and so once you do that, the ABCC doesn't allow the board to discriminate among uses. So that's what it is.
Mr.
So
Chair,
my,
if we
my
did
motion and
10
the acceptance is
Yeah.
basically symbolic. To just, because I'm not changing my position from where I was 8 years ago. And
I understand.
the more time personally that I can restrict the golf cart, no matter who's operating up there, and there's no complaints whatsoever, I'm just trying to reduce the risk on a Sunday and give people some more peaceful enjoyment in their backyard. That's the only reason why.
So
You
question,
would
Mr.
accept
Chair,
it if
is
it's
it
our
already
policy.
at 10 now?
No, yeah, well,
Now
It's
it's
already,
10.
it's already at 10.
It is at
So why don't we
10.
push it, 11 to 11, 7 days a
I
week?
don't-
think we
Well,
can.
because,
Would you be open to that?
I think we should just
I don't
withdraw.
think you're even making a legal motion.
Like, so.
well, there's a motion and a second, so, unless, Selectman Service wants to amend that,
No,
I
there's no,
think
we
we
have
need
a
to.
motion in a second, we
yeah,
need to vote on it,
That's right.
but let's talk procedural, okay? So from what I'm hearing is, we either deny the license or we accept the license, we can't put time on it, that's what he's
You
telling me.
really can't.
Okay.
I mean,
So that's number one.
it's 8 AM.
Right. Right, so, knowing that, and hearing this board, right? You can start at basically, you could start at 10 o'clock if you wanted to on a Sunday.
And we don't
can't
start
stop
at 11, but yeah.
So, again, the rest of the board could, we have to either vote this up or down, we can't put times on it. So the motion we have on the table needs to be voted on, is probably gonna get voted down, right? Because it's really not enforceable. So the next step is, do we wanna give them the license to change or not? But then, you guys, knowing what our feeling is on the golf cart, is to make sure, please don't go to 10 now, but, stay to 11, or if you could push it to 11:30 or 12, we would appreciate it. I think that's about all we can really do as a board. Can't really enforce it.
And I think what Mr. Brown is saying is, we respect everything you're saying. We're gonna do everything in our control to ensure that, people like Mr. McGuire and Lamadou don't have complaints. When they do complain to Chief Cutmore and they come to us, we deal with it immediately. Jack is, if anything, rigid as far as rules go. You don't break them. And I think a lot of the complaints are more because it's a golf course and you have men in mass playing. I don't know that there's early morning drinking, so that's what I mean. No matter what, we're not even starting to serve till 11 o'clock. So if they're having problems in the morning, it's not from men drinking. It's from men playing golf. And I apologize, and if there is poor activity, you inform us, and we're gonna try and do what we can to police it. Those rangers go out, and I've been there, and they've yelled at people for swearing. And we will put up signs saying, if there's public urination, number one, it's indecent exposure, it's a crime, isn't it?
Correct.
If you get caught doing it, I think you can actually be considered a sexual predator for exposing yourself. Right? It's a very bad thing to do. So we'll police it, and Chief Cudmore is welcome to police it as well. But as far as the issue becomes, Mr. Surface, is when we try to change our business model.
I get it.
So
But
we
the
would
point
prefer
is-
to be able to keep it, and we don't serve till 11 right now. And unless and until the restaurant were to have some epiphany and all of a sudden brunch becomes, this wild thing on Sunday, we're not going to. We're gonna keep our hours, am I correct, as is?
Correct.
And right now, you load up your carts and you go out at 11.
But just as a point, as a new business, I think you'd have to come in front of us for that early opening. You've got that now for the old business, Ribos, but I think you'd have to come in front of us separately, as you said, for the new business.
Yep, we're asking.
And I don't think that we,
You
Yeah.
can't,
I think
because,
that's a separate, I don't know if that's a separate
because
motion or
town meeting
not.
did it, now you are the, if you will, the
Yes.
harbingers of that rule. So yeah, you do have to approve it. Before noon, you have to approve it. Now, your board of selectmen already did, the license already carries, the ABC is gonna force you to do it in 10 a.m. I'm just being honest. I almost feel like I'm being threatening, and I'm not, but I feel like you need to know.
Yeah, you give us the information, that's fine.
So, you have to do as a board what you see fit, but I have to tell you that I've been told that if we can't have the same hours as before, we are gonna withdraw both applications. We'll just continue to function, not out of spite, but because our owner is telling us what we're supposed to do.
If I could just add one thing with the debit cards, just that they're not, I mean, I hope no one thinks that they're this like lawnmower type noise or any type of noise factor that plays into it. For the most part, the beverage card, the person that operates it for my short time here is they have a specific set of instructions when anyone's about to hit a ball or anything like that, that they're advised to go silent and to not make any noise. There's no music playing out of them, and there's nothing like that. So at the end of the day, it is just them doing a round or two prior to that 11 o'clock or noon time, and everyone grabbing a drink, I mean possibly two if you catch
Is
it.
it still just beer and wine?
Yeah, we do have these cocktails in a can, but they're the same.
Basically
ABV as
beer or
nothing.
wine.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's
But-
only one golf cart that goes around that 18-hole course, one.
Right, so it
One
doesn't,
golf cart,
I
that's
just
it.
don't know if it gets to the core of what the other problems that you mentioned, that we absolutely respect and wanna try to make better for an experience for the community all around, but the beverage cart itself, I just don't think, it is necessarily the fix to stop that. I know that that's a big concern of yours, but, I just think that one cart making a round once or twice in that earlier time isn't necessarily, it's all the other solutions that we came up through this meeting of maybe adding a porta potty or a sign, or just that overall awareness that's more of the crux of the problem, and I think we've acknowledged that and wanna do
One
our
more
best.
comment and I'll shut up.
All right.
Can I make one more
We're
comment?
gonna have one more comment, then we'll vote on this, okay? I
So,
think we're done.
I understand the business model aspect of it, but when you open up a change in your business model to philosophical views of an agency that's gonna approve your business model change, right? That's the risk you run, and that's what, if you went back and looked 8 years ago, I was against the golf cart from the beginning. And I'm sticking to my guns on that particular issue, so, I just wanna reduce the risk. I'm not saying you guys are doing anything wrong, just trying to reduce risk, that's all I'm trying to do. That's,
All right, so we have a motion, in a second. And this is,
Can you state what the motion is? Is it
sure,
to-
sure, can you read the motion one more time, please?
I believe the motion was to approve the all alcohol liquor license for Georgetown Flatbread LLC, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 11 to 12 p.m. 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Sunday.
And are you gonna stick with, I didn't know if you were, while this discussion was then modifying
He didn't
the
withdraw.
motion,
no,
that's
we
what I
didn't
don't know
withdraw
what's
it, it was
happening.
seconded, why don't we just vote on it?
Yeah, we can vote and then someone else can make a motion, correct? Correct. So, we'll just vote on it 1 second, and then we can, we can always have another motion, so. All right, so all those in favor of the motion, say aye. All those in favor, all those negative, nay.
Nay.
Okay, so that was turned down.
Now I understand.
Okay. All right, so does anybody else want to make a motion to keep the license?
It's just basically to approve the
To
license.
approve the license, right, I mean, as it says, right?
That's basically it.
All right, anyone want to make a motion for that?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the requested license for Georgetown Flatbread LLC.
With an early start on
With-
Sunday, right?
Well, with the regular hours, right?
to Mr. Fowler's point, because it's a Sunday, you're supposed to vote on that too.
Well, no, I don't think we have to, you have to ask.
So we're saying
us
11 to
that,
11.
Is my understanding of it, so, but
11
you're
to 11.
asking.
11 a.m. to 11
Yeah.
p.m.
Yeah, on week, Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday,
And
and
Sunday,
Sunday 11 a.m.
No, it's actually
Is it
8
11?
a.m.
8 a.m.
It's 8 so
It-
the way the license
What are you
is,
what are you running now?
we only open 11 to 11,
Yeah.
but the actual hours on the liquor license are 8, it is 8 a.m. because that's when you can start to serve. It's 8 a.m. and we do close at 11.
And you
So
can
then
stay
you would-
open until 1, I think, by state law.
By state law, we can,
But you
but we
don't.
don't. Yeah.
So I think what she's saying for the motion is with the early hours is, I think, has.
On Sunday.
how it-
Yeah.
That the town voted, I think, is how it needs to be worded. I think you gotta leave
you
the
have
hours
to, you have to
out.
word it that way, but with the notion that 11 is really when you get going on Sundays.
I think you leave the hours out, you just wanna say with the early opening that the town has.
That is the way you're supposed to do it, yeah.
Okay. So you wanna restate that?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
I don't know if
I
I'm
know,
all
I'm
right, but-
sorry.
No, let's make sure we get it right
We
though.
need to get it right.
Well, we can, if I don't get it right here, so I move to accept the license application, Georgetown Flatbread LLC for a liquor license, as it's presented from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and on Sundays,
No, just
no,
no
what?
hours.
With
No
early
hours.
start.
No
With,
hours.
with an early start on Sunday.
With an early
With
start.
an
on-
early start on Sunday, and,
With the state permitted hours, and early
Well,
start on
okay.
Sunday.
Yes.
all right, Jan, will you clean that up?
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Anyone? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
Yep, nay, nay. So we got 3-2.
So
License passed.
thank you very much, sorry
Yep.
for
Okay.
We still have homework to do.
We still need to do Rye Road.
Yeah, exactly. We still have the second
the
one.
alteration, yes.
Okay, we have a motion for the second one?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we allow a transfer of the Ribos Bistro 2 liquor license.
It's not transfer,
Relocate,
it's
alteration.
Alteration, excuse me. Alteration of the premises for Ribo Bistros 2 as presented.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh, I'm an aye on that.
Okay.
And I can assure you, you will see your signs.
Oh, that's great, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Oh, yeah, I wish you would.
Is this spotted correctly?
I can't see.
Page 5?
Photo of beneficial interest.
I meant to ask that.
Oh, no, it should have said yes.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And it does on mine, that's weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have a lender.
Yes, see,
Yeah,
John,
it's-
right there.
Oh, you,
And
oh,
I
you
did,
mean John?
and
Oh,
that's,
okay, I'm
you
sorry.
see how right
Okay.
above it says yes.
That's marked wrong, right?
Yeah, that's marked
what
wrong,
I
that's
thought.
my fault, that's
Thank you
my
very
error.
Well,
I
I
appreciate
just wanted to make sure you don't send it to the state like that.
No, because it does say, yeah, no, I will, thank you. I'm gonna send, where I wrote lender, I wrote yes, put the, application numbers and then check, no. I don't know why.
Send me a correct.
Yeah, no, I will.
I can show it, yeah.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for
Thank you very
attending.
much.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
patience.
Thank you, have a good night.
Best luck this summer. All right, I'm gonna hop down, so Chief, wanna come up? Guess we have a lot to discuss with you, so we have 45 Central Street. Well, why don't we start off with the old business first? Let's do the old business first. Let's go 45 Central, then we'll go Brook Street, and then we'll go to the new business.
There's a tripod in the corner, not there. That's all right, I'll just use this.
For, the last time we were here, the chief and I, with regard to 45 Central Street, you sent us away to do a little bit of homework on the property, so you had some baseline to work with regard to the recent purchase of 45 Central Street right here. Just for some clarification, here is Central Street here. Here is our public safety building as it exists today. The fire doors are here. Here's our entrance, and there's your loop that goes up to the town hall over here. So as you can see, this is the actual schematic drawing from back when the public safety building was built in 1986. And the driveway, as we had testified before, both the town meeting and before this board, you can see that it's not exactly perpendicular to Central Street, which has caused some of our entry problems over the years. It was just the way the configuration of the land was with regard to this property and the CVS property here. This is the ledge wall that you see when you pull into the police and fire station. If you go around, you'll park here. Here's the entrance to the police station, and here is the entrance to the fire station and the bay doors. So when we had requested the acquisition of 45 Central Street, you asked us to try to come up with a rendition. It didn't cost us any money. The chief was able to find someone, I believe through the school.
Yep.
And they were able to take this drawing and draw it to scale, what we envisioned for our proposal. I'm going to turn it this way because it would present better this way. So here is the public safety building as you saw in the last rendition, the driveway that goes around our police station, and then the driveway as it slopes, not necessarily perpendicular to the Central Street entrance here. We would propose raising the building. That would be what we had testified to at town meeting, creating additional parking spaces, whether engineering would allow for the continuation into town hall, or we would eliminate that with some type of stairway or easement into town hall. This would be some type of green space here, and then there's the addition to the public safety building that the chief and I have testified to with regard to spacing. The only thing that we would request in addition to looking at the long term, the engineering of our property, is that this property here is CVS, the property line, and not knowing exactly where this line is, somehow we would need to correlate a line from our building to the street so that we could straighten our driveway up. So that would require us working with the owners of the CVS property, but at the same time encapsulating the 45 Central Street takeover, helping the the town hall parking issue. This is a very, very rough, free rendition. That's all this is. This is just something that we had proposed at town meeting verbally. We're not necessarily able to present physically like this at town hall when we said it was our recommendation to take the 45 Central Street property and encompass it into this here to create this campus environment for the town hall and for the public safety building. Cost, a lot. We haven't added to this building. We haven't touched this building since 1985, 86, I'm sorry. And the fire department is now full-time. You've heard the chief testify several times about he has much more spacing issues than I. I'm fortunate enough where I'm still maintaining what I can do with the police station, but at the same time, encompassing long-term with our own ambulance service and communications and the like. The entry to the police station needs extensive work. You've all walked up those infamous stairs. They're falling apart. There's no such thing as ADA. Our parking spaces are not ADA compliant. So at some point, our community is going to have to deal with that. And then most important, dealing with our space issues with our fire and rescue and EMS systems. And this is a long-term project, I can imagine, but this is the first step. So you charge us with bringing this to you, we brought it to you tonight, and that's what it looks like. And like I say, we asked for $15,000 to do this, to try to show some type of rendition to the community and to the board. We didn't have any CIP luck this year with that funding, so we went back to the drawing board to at least show the community what this might look like. And this is to scale, so you can see the parking and the like. This doesn't quite look like this in parking, it's more linear, but it gave us a good scope from what we started out with in 1986.
On the left hand, you have your parking on the right,
Here,
And then you said there's a green space?
this is a green space to delineate possibly an entry.
Okay.
This is what would be up for engineering, would be, this may change. What we did is we just tried to configure something, what this might look like with an entry. And then, we don't own this property, so I couldn't make it part of the drawing, so we redlined it to show that a potential acquisition from them.
What are those other lines?
Where are you?
On the green space?
On the green space?
Now those lines, more
This right here.
parking?
This is more parking for the fire department.
Alright.
Currently, right now, that parking is probably like right here.
Yeah, it's existing.
So we're shifting everything over so that we can create another parking for the town hall.
And
Okay,
again,
that was
this
my
is,
question,
this is all rough, so I mean, a lot of this can change. Right now, this is existing, the monuments in front. What the goal is going to be is with the addition, moving the monument more to the street. So as you come by the, public safety building, there would be a sign with our monuments that we have today.
This here would all be up for logistical engineering, because, I mean, we don't have sight line issues, but what we would like to see is the building lines up appropriately with Central Street, but the driveway doesn't, because 45 Central Street existed when they built it, and the CVS property line. And the town of Georgetown put that driveway into that pork chop, so to speak, and it's not straight. So it's difficult when they turn, the apparatus is bigger. They're just barely fitting in the existing garage today with the new ladder truck and things like that. So if we can straighten that out, this would help that. This would all be shifted so that.
Can cars go from there to the town hall or no?
Well, that's the thing. I left it open because that's what exists today.
Mhm.
I think preferably we would probably close that down, only because that just creates more of an environment here. Or the flip side is, we even open it up more so that people can get out of town hall and not be jammed down on Library Street, but have two ways out through Central Street. Those are things that engineering experts have to tell us exist. This is the Fred and Don show. This is all we have. This is all we have.
If there's elevations there, you may,
I don't know, yeah, but the last time we sat in these chairs, people couldn't get a mental picture, so we wanted to provide something that didn't cost us any money, but give somebody kind of a snapshot of what we're looking at.
It's basically a talking point
that's
to
it.
look at the short-term needs and the long-term needs, as the chief alluded to. I need space. I can't expand my operation. In this day and age, this community deserves 24-hour staffing. And I don't have that, and I have no place to put my guys. My guys really don't have a place to go as it is when they go into the station. I think the board, as individually, has been in the house. We've grown from 1985, when it was, volunteer on call, to now we have staffing, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, it's just to that point going forward.
So, what do we see in that extension off the building? So what were you guys envisioning?
What we envision is 2 stories. Currently, right now, this notch this is the existing building right here. This is all concrete because these are bay for fire apparatus. The police station sits on top. But this notch right here is all wood. It's wood, and we're able to run wiring and still function today without much difficulty in maintaining, adding peripherals and adding Cat 5 and so forth. So this is very workable material, and that's what some of our contractors have told us. So we would add on to that. The chief would need additional office space. He probably has some options with regard to spacing for fire prevention and the like. The second floor, we would extend dispatch out. Currently, right now, there are 2 entrances to get into our public safety building. You either go into the fire station or you go into the police station. If you look at most combined public safety buildings, you walk into one area and the person that's working there can service both departments. I'm looking for the fire department, looking for the police department. Right now, when you come into dispatch, you only get to talk to me and my people. If you want to see the fire station department, we tell people to walk around and go in this door. This person, through our combined communication center, will sit in this area and they'll be able to service both departments. So we combine the services, we're combining the technology so that we're one versus a separate entity. And we've been doing that for the last 10 years with services and like with the building. So the same thing would happen here. We have some requirements upstairs that we're a bit deficit in. I do work around them. We're supposed to have safe rooms and quiet rooms for people that come in, that they're not behind a locked door within the PD, but they're actually in a room where they're in the lobby, but they're not accessible to the public, but they have a right to leave anytime they want and things like that. I work around those issues, but that would be encompassed a part of this, and the dispatch center would be expanded to
Is there-
include assisting the fire department.
Is there any ideas for sleeping quarters? Cause I know we talked about
part of
that.
this would be a dorm area for staffing overnight, also a place for the guys to have like a common area
The
on
kitchen,
their
yeah.
expanding the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, right now they basically, they hang in the alarm room downstairs
Right.
on their downtime, and they make do with the kitchen that's there right now.
Okay.
The other thing too is that when you go upstairs into the police department side of the upstairs of that building, you walk into a secured area. The minute, and you have to talk to the dispatcher, and then you get buzzed in, or one of the officers come out to escort you in. The fire station downstairs, you hit the buzzer, the guy opens the door, that guy, you know, whoever's coming through that front door, he's got free reign. There's really no security downstairs for the fire department, and considering that, when you come up this driveway, we're the first, you're coming to us first. And so if somebody is not too happy with something, they're coming probably most likely to us first before they go upstairs. And they can, once they get inside, there's an interior staircase. But when they go up that interior staircase, they're still in a secured area. They're not getting behind that security.
You can't get into the police
Exactly. So that's a concern, you know, for us going forward, that we want to keep our people safe, especially in this day and age.
I think also too, Chief, not to interrupt you, but to forecast, sitting on CIP in the last 10 years and watching the plan and development of us maintaining our infrastructure, this building has not been added to nor extensively renovated, unlike many, many of our other buildings in town. And it's time, and it needs it. It needs fire suppression, it needs alarms. The entire parking lot is beyond its useful life, except for the rear where I was able to replace that with the septic system replacement. We have a brand new septic system. The building has a roof on it, it's existing roof, although I keep thinking it's new, but you know, we're embarking now on 6, 7, 8 years old, so things aren't as new as I'm thinking anymore, but in comparison to where it was. So instead of me going to CIP and getting 20,000 for an alarm system and 30,000 for this and 40 for this, we need to determine, just like we do our school buildings, is it time to renovate the building appropriately? We own the building outright. It's one of the few buildings we make no payments on, which is like owning your home. So I think that we need to, I would like to look at the big picture. You know, before the chief started, I had said many times the police department is adequate in its current form, but not including my partners in the fire to ensure that we do something now that this property is gone.
All right. And my second question was, have we explored the possibility of building out or back? I know you just said that the septic system's out back, so
We
maybe
don't
that's
have any.
not a possibility.
This is the rail trail right here, and if you look at a map, if you looked at the schematic here, the rail trail goes right across here. I purposely withdrew the CIP request for the fencing here because I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what public access we'll have to this area. There's going to be something there once this trail is active. So why replace a $20,000 fence when you end up cutting it up because you don't know what that looks like? Secondly, this here, the CVS parking lot sits right here like this from behind, so there's no space there. I got a proposal about 7 or 8 years ago to add a second story to the building. The problem is the building was built as such, and the truss system only allows for the 2 stories with no usage of, this place has the biggest attic you'd ever want to see. It's just this huge, enormous building because it's so tall, but it's specifically designed to be only a 1-story structure with garage underneath with the appropriate placement of the pillars so the trucks can fit. If you added a second floor, you'd have to put all new pillars in through the whole building, and the fire trucks would have to like aim to get into their bays. Right now it's open. They got a couple, but so it's not feasible to add a second story. We can't go this way because this is all residences. So the only option we have, and that's why this was critical, 45, was to go this way.
Sure, okay.
So
Yeah,
it's kind of, you know, out of the 4 sides, there's only one way to go.
Right. Yeah, I think the reason why I was asking that, because I don't think we've really, I mean, other than a parking lot, we really haven't discussed what we were going to do with the.
Well, I think that's what I was trying to
Yeah,
spark,
no,
because
no.
as months go by, I
Yep.
just say, look, you know, maybe we want to have a public session. Mr. Fowler said public hearings to talk about it. The town may say no.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I read the newspapers, I see these projects are shot down every day.
Sure.
this was the option that we were asked to bring forward, just so people get a snapshot of what we're looking at.
Okay.
And
And
it's
then
just a
if
very
you
brief
add a
rendition.
floor, then you're saying that it's impossible, or
This here, yes.
you can
basic-
add up to that?
You cannot put a second story on this building in its current configuration because of the truss system of the roof.
You'd be looking at some major
You'd have to
structural-
you'd have
right.
to tear the whole thing off and start over again.
Yeah.
It's not just like adding a second story.
Okay.
That was, I have an actual plan we set for it. We got an estimate for that about 7 years ago.
Okay. No, I appreciate you guys, presenting this and.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, has anybody come forward? I know we posted it, and has anybody come forward to give any suggestions, something that they might want? Because I think the chiefs are the only ones that have stepped up and really said, all right, this is what I'd like to do.
No, I haven't heard anything officially.
No? Okay.
I still think we should give the public an opportunity to have at least one public session for input. Sure. The green space, parking area, that could be reconfigured. 'Cause
Absolutely,
It seems to me
absolutely.
that
Yep.
there's a lot of green space where
Yep.
it could be additional parking on both
Well,
sides.
yeah,
and-
what we wanted to do was try to identify how we could create that campus environment for town hall
Yeah.
and utilize that space properly, because we have parking problems at town hall during the day, and you do a couple of nighttime meetings here, and it's difficult. The entry and egress is unusual, one way in, one way out, and you can only turn right. I know you turn left, but you can only turn right.
Big brother's watching me.
On the golf
I can't take a
course.
left-hand turn, I can't go get a pizza at the flats right now.
No.
Stay out of the white stake zone on a golf course.
Yeah.
I can't play golf.
I'm not supposed to cross there and turn left?
Sure, there's a sign there.
Yeah.
I never
It was
do
part
when
of
there's a
urban
cruiser
systems.
there.
Well, you
I
shouldn't.
don't want to disrespect a cruiser.
So I think that the good news is that, we have an opportunity to maybe help our town hall create a different environment for the public safety building for the future. I don't know that, I did the timeline in my SMART goal for Mr. Trapani, and he's probably got a copy of it. I didn't bring that folder tonight, but this was in the SMART goal. And to do a project of this magnitude, it's years. I mean, you have to get committees and RFPs, and you have to do town meeting, and it's not something you just wake up and, let's start tearing trees down and building. It takes a long time, because it's a public project and you need public opinion, and people may say, maybe we don't want that. It's just, like I said, it was the chief and I's responsibility to bring it forward, and that's what we did.
The goal is to look at today, the needs of public safety, both on the fire and PD, but also be able to meet the needs to the future. So our predecessors, 20 years from now, are not sitting in front of the Board of Selectmen saying, we need more space, because we can't, because it's hampering our operations. And as the chief alluded to, 1985, the building was built, and it really hasn't expanded, and it hasn't really been, it's just been upkeep for the last 20-something years, 30
So if I
years.
remember right, you were looking at 2024
Well,
for that?
I think it was a little earlier than that, sir.
Yeah.
I think that when I submitted the SMART goal, I think it was closer to 2020. If we moved forward in FY
rolling.
17.
Yeah, I just remember there was a $5.4 million price tag,
What I did was,
and
for,
then
yeah,
2020 something. It wasn't 2020, but it was 20.
well, there were a couple of things in play with that. We had the 2025 SMART goal initiative, and then prior to that, we had the 10-year capital plan that we had to submit for the budget forecast for our deficits and so forth. Who did that, Mike? What was the company? They did the spreadsheets for,
From the, that we hired with the grant.
they gave us the working spreadsheet.
Suffolk.
Oh, that was,
No, it was, we just did it recently. What is it?
no,
Abrams.
Abrams.
Right, so what I did was create a placeholder for that project. It was just a very loose figure. I picked $5.4 million, and then what happened was Central Street wasn't even being spoken about with regard to acquisition. We got Central Street, we had to change that plan. Then we dumped that project into the SMART goals for the vision exercises. So something's been in play, but it just hasn't really found a home yet.
the other thing too is during this project, I actually reached out to a few communities. Town of Raleigh's building a brand new fire station. They're looking to break ground in the fall, along with a major renovation to their police station. Total project's about $11 million. Town of Merrimack, and we did meet with the architect that's working in Merrimack. Renovations to their fire station is about $3 million, total renovation. They have a project of about 15, including PD, highway, and the fire department. I also reached out in my hometown to the police chief down in Cumberland, and Cumberland is building a public safety building that's encompassing the the police department and the EMS department, because it's not part of the fire district. And going back and forth with Chief Damaris on emails, he sent me the schematic of the public safety building, $12.5 million. They had to cut back a little bit. It's a single story. That's just out there right now. And I think the longer this gets pushed down the road, obviously, like anything else, the price of doing business goes up, it's gonna cost more money. So I know the chief and I are looking to kind of get the ball rolling and get the conversation started. So hopefully we can move forward and follow the process from the start to the finish. So we're able to meet those needs in the future, now and long term.
Are we just looking at the addition, or are you looking to also do major renovations within the current structure?
Well, I think that what we would do is leave that to the professionals,
Right.
because there's always an assessment.
Yep.
When we actually met with an engineer who had just completed a couple of the local, Salisbury PD did a building, and what happens is in this process, you either determine whether you're going to rehab, renovate, stick build, addition, so that's another whole topic.
Yep.
Will we when we dive into the existing building, do you replace all of the power plants? Do you replace everything so that now you come out with a 30-year useful life for your building? That's something that has to be engineered. And then you want to be able to operate while this is going on. I think the good news for us is we were told that because of this, the strategic location of a potential addition, that we're not relocating to another building, we're not doing anything like that. But that could be up in the air too. I mean, that's just something, everybody gives us a forecast, but nobody will reduce anything to writing because they're not working for us. And there's been no contract signed. So we've been just kind of scrounging around trying to figure out what we can get for information and data to at least bring to the town so they can make an informed decision about what they want to do.
This, we're not the engineers, so this is the start to talk. And
I apologize for saying the Fred and Don show.
That's okay, no worries. A couple of comedians, right? It's looking at, this is the talking point, and that was one of the reasons why we were looking for money to have that needs assessment done to meet the needs of the future. But kind of shifted gears and went, there's always more than one way to skin the cat. So
we had requested
we went down
$15,000 through CIP, which we had found a company that would give us some of that raw data. But we said, well, we'll move on if CIP was not able to perform financially. We just at least give you something to work with because, as time goes by, like you say, you're going to have public input, you're going to have hearings, you're going to have a committee's going to have to be formed. I mean, by statute, there has to be a committee, a building committee. So it's a big project.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. All right, listen, we're gonna move on because we're getting
Thank you.
up
Thank
in
you.
time.
I'm gonna
So
have Pete come
thank
up.
you
Yep, no
guys
problem.
for bringing
Thank
us
you.
up to speed on that. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome. Thank you.
To Brook Street.
Brook Street. I was before you, have the agenda, in August of 2016 for the up-and-coming Elm Street project. As we all know, Elm Street is off and running, and things are getting done down there, so I'm putting forth a request along with my brother Peter Durkee from the Highway Department to ensure that the community is aware, or whatever logistics have to be done to ensure that Brook Street will become a two-way street once these T intersections are installed. As I said before, we have a one-way street going in the easterly direction. However, there are two driveways on Brook Street that have the luxury of going two-way. So it's near impossible to enforce, and most importantly, when you make that a T intersection, how do you have a one-way street that only is one way, two driveways up, and then people are exiting the one-way because they're on that portion of the street? Long history as to why it was made one way because of its construction and configuration and deterioration, but now it's going to be brand new and it should be a two-way street, and that was the recommendation of the engineers as well when we were in the area. So I don't know what the board has to do to make that happen. A bell was rung to make it one way. We got to unring the bell and make it two-way. And I know that there was a need for a public hearing, but that was in August of 2016, so it's almost end of June, so we're trying to move forward.
Okay, discussion.
What will the speed limit be on that road?
Well, that's an interesting question. Any thickly settled area is unposted 30. I know there has been talk of making speed limits throughout the community 25. There is new legislation that allows this board to do things like that. We need to put forth some studies to determine what roadways there would be. Some cities have enacted 25 mile per hour through all of their roadways. I don't think you could get to 30 miles an hour from one end to the other if you tried. What is there, five houses on the road?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So part and parcel, it would be the same that it is right now, whether it be one way or two way.
Will the street be any wider?
Nope.
No, same width now?
Well, it will be improved, so I think the fact that the degradation of the edges will now be able to be utilized in its current form.
So Peter, would that, because it kinda comes out at an angle, would it just come out the same way it is
No,
now,
we
or
would,
you
we
got
would try to
T?
make the Brook Street and Central Street end more as a T, and it's already been designed for the Elm Street end, and it will be safer for the people walking on that street. Because right now you could walk around the corner, and a car could also, come around the corner and hit you because you're not going to see them. So,
Do we have any plans for sidewalks there?
nope. There'll be a sidewalk to get you around the corner, and plus, they're shortening up the intersection on Elm Street, so that will make it safer.
Further discussion?
Will you take them out, if I may?
Absolutely.
There's a little island at one end, is that being removed?
Yep.
Like every intersection in Georgetown, all of the Ys and yaws that we have, telephone poles are our biggest impediment. Every time we turn around to try to make a road safer, there happens to be a telephone pole right where the road should be. And it's a problem. I've talked to the traffic study committee. I know it's a real obstacle for Pete when he's created some other intersections. In this instance, though, we're able to work around the poles because there's a wide enough span because there are two roadways, similar to Nelson, similar to Mill Street, similar to Thurlow Street, similar to Pond Street. We seem to, back in the day, just put the telephone poles right where they shouldn't have been, but I guess it's the span of the lines and I guess the luck of the draw.
So we're only talking about Brook Street from Central to Elm,
That's it.
not across the street?
No.
Yeah, cross street's already two-way.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a one-way on a dead end.
Yeah.
So what do we just need a motion?
A motion to make it what, two-way?
Will that do it? Is that what we need? Or do we, I mean, my only question is, do we need anybody, to open up something where people on Brook Street can come and voice an opinion?
Well, all our other, this is part of the bylaws. And in the past, we've had for change of parking space or we'd have the traffic study committee make a report.
That's been put forward, I believe.
And I have a report here in 2004, June 7th, the Board of Selectmen's minute meetings
Okay,
in June
yeah.
7th, 2004. That's when they declared it to be a one-way, when it used to be a two-way.
Oh.
So I don't know if that legislatively just allows the board to for regulation purposes, I'd ask the board to.
Well, if somebody went the wrong way on a one-way street, in order for you to enforce it, it'd have to be in the bylaws.
Correct.
But we're doing the opposite. I still think you need a public hearing. You have but did the traffic committee meet to discuss turning it back to two-way?
We did
Yes.
twice. I've been before the traffic committee twice on it, and my sergeant works with
I believe we-
Mr. Fowler.
Did they make a report to the
We
selectmen?
sent it, that's what put it on the agenda, I believe, as old business, is a letter from the traffic study committee.
I think you should still need we've always had a public hearing, or at least a posted, not a formal hearing, but,
That was the talk, to do it that way, I agree.
since this has been noticed on the, agenda, I'd say you could vote on it tonight.
All right, let's hear a motion then.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve Brook Street from a one-way to a two-way.
Can we just insert
that-
the
All
house
the
numbers?
street numbers between,
Yeah, between X and X, because otherwise
Just
we're
the
gonna-
others.
we're doing the whole
Perhaps
street.
just
the other
put-
side, right?
Perhaps just put
Well, the other side is
Well, the
a
other side's
two-way.
already.
It's a dead end, you can't make it
Say
a
Central to-
one-way,
Central
so.
to Elm.
Brook Street crosses Central, so it would only be from the Central Street intersection to the Elm Street intersection. So from Central to Elm.
Second.
I hear a motion in a second. Any further conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate it.
And a quick update on Elm Street. As of today, we started closing the road down 7 to 3 for local traffic only, so you can get to the school, you can get to your house if you live on Elm, Chestnut, or Brook. But we just want to try to keep the big traffic off the road. Tomorrow, they're going to start tree removal and grubbing out the areas on the edges of the road, the town property. And hopefully by the end of the week, the drainage structures have all shown up, so they're going to start installing drainage structures. And I know the last time I talked to them, they were talking about reclaiming the whole road next week, after the July 4th, but they may hold off on that until they're, get all the drainage done and then go through and do the whole road. So,
Just a quick question for Peter.
Yes, sir.
I know we talked about this a little bit, but on Elson Road, that mature tree that's there, I know you mentioned that may have to be removed.
well, we don't have any plan to do anything with Nelson Street right now.
Okay.
We are looking at Complete Streets, when we belong to Complete
That's not
Streets,
included with
to add the sidewalk from where it ends to, like, say, at least Noonan's, and to do something on Nelson Street to get us to the trail. But that's another area that I've seen near misses. People walking
Yeah.
with strollers, and they come around the corner. You have the fence right there. You can't see coming around the corner, and the cars are going at a good clip. And I've seen people like have to jump out of the way, almost getting hit. And that's another
Okay.
area that we want to make a
That
T intersection.
proposed T area though, or T configuration is not part of the
Elm Street,
Elm
no.
Street project, but the T is from Brook to Elm.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
And we kinda had the same situation, if you follow Nelson to where Ballpate ends.
Yep.
Coming from Boxford, are you supposed to stay to your left, or are you supposed to come, stop, and then take a left on the island?
Very, very
Which way is right? Because you can't, when you come from Boxford, if you just stay to your left and the little island is on your right, you can't see if anything's coming.
Nope.
What's the lead, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go stop at that island, then take a left to go up Ballpate?
Yes, and
You're not supposed to.
Roundabout.
yeah, it looks like one.
It's,
If you recall, too, several years ago, there was actually a stop sign coming from Ballpate Road into Georgetown. That stop sign was eliminated, and we put the stop sign coming down the hill because of the errant speed that people would pick up from Ballpate Hospital. It needs to be reconfigured. It's
Yeah,
one of our
that's
many,
so
many
confusing.
intersections and it's a very busy intersection.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's on our target, and, we've tried to take some due diligence with the intersections that need priority, and, do it within our budgets to try and to work with that. But I know Pete has an intersection plan for many of our roads. He's accomplished probably a good 8 or 9 that have been really problematic for us out in the Warren Street area, Jackman, Jewett, and now we're working in the downtown area too, so that is on our list too.
Anybody else? Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Have
I
a good
just
night.
have, the last thing I have on the radio
Yep.
project, you wanna just do that?
And, yep, and so the radio systems,
Just,
Chief.
very briefly, back in 2012, we renovated our communication center, where we were able to use one warrant article and provide all new radio communications for every town department. So it was a town-wide initiative, just not a fire and police initiative. And in doing so, our
antenna and power that comes from our radio system is on the Ballpate Tower up on Ballpate Hill. And I have a report here, but it's marked confidential because it does have sensitive information in it, so I don't know from a logistical how you keep that confidential, but it's got some sensitive information in it.
Kind of open.
Well, then it has to be, because like anything, no, you're gonna have to see it. So, Verizon has copper lines that run our radio system. So if you look on the back page of the presentation, you'll see a schematic, and I'm not gonna get into the technical phase of it, because to be honest with you, I don't really know how to follow it. It's more of a DNA chart to me. But from a layman's perspective, our radio system runs over Verizon copper lines. That's how it works. So very similar to the phone line that's in your home, that's how our radio system has worked for many, many years, even through the upgrade of 2012. Well, those lines have become outdated, problematic for Verizon, and they're going to discontinue using those copper line services in the very near future, probably within the next year. So we need to come up with a plan so that we can continue our radio communications from the Ballpate Tower to the Public Safety Building to Erie 4. And obviously fiber and optics is the wave, and this equipment that we need to jump into that arena will be needed probably in 2018. I put this forth in the grant, the technology grant. I actually was hoping this would get some funding. It didn't. So what I have to do, the system's gone down about 78 times in the last 3 years, and Verizon has had numerous trouble calls for us, and the lines stay down. It's problematic for our radio system. Very similar to our phone systems right now. We run on a VoIP system, a voice over IP system. Your radio systems will run the same way because copper lines are going away. So this project is phased in at $52,000 to accomplish this. I'm going to be having the need to probably put a $10,000 patch in by the end of this year so that this system continues to maintain operability, and then I'll be putting a warrant article for this in the fall for this, because by 2018 we're going to have to do it. We just won't have a choice. So that report is a bit detailed. I gave you the very layman's version of it. It's something you can take a look at. And it was surveyed by our radio communications coordinator, Officer Duchesne, who works with this system. I thank him for his diligence in getting this done for us in a timely manner. So I will spend the $10,000 out of this year's budget just to get this done and get the patch in. That will reduce this cost, though, to probably $40,000. So,
Sir.
Question from Mike, do we determine if we are eligible for that IT grant again next year, or no?
No, we haven't.
We haven't determined, so it is possible, so that might be something that we wanna look into, we might be able to get that for next year.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Anybody else? Conversation?
I heard he can't really wait.
well, I have to go with the $10,000 patch anyway, so I have to.
You mentioned a town meeting.
Well, I'm going to put forward, I'm going to try to keep our timeline so that we can hit the 2018 target. When Verizon abandons those copper lines, there goes the radio system. So,
If you put the patch in, you still need the work done to transfer everything to
Right.
the technology, so we can still use that grant if
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
eligible.
Yeah.
Chief, would you like these back?
Your call.
Yeah, I don't want it. Mike,
Confidential, I probably would.
I would rather not keep that. It's confidential.
I think once he has entered it to us, it is part of the public record. So.
Like I say, the board can do what they may with it. I have to present it to the public, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that was a discussion piece, so I would rather, you take those back, that's confidential. So, okay, Chief, anything else on this?
That's all, I think that's all I have on the agenda tonight.
We'll give it back, take it back.
Oh, I don't know, could be, I don't know.
Any other comments, questions? No? Okay, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No?
Thanks, chief.
All right.
Yes.
We have a few
What
other
left in the room?
things- I think we have a few other things we need.
All right, Mr. Pine, thank you for being so patient. I appreciate it. So Phil is here tonight to talk with us about our progress on the strategic plan goals that I had distributed out, although Gary, I couldn't get these printed off, so I think,
I
Janet,
have
did you print those off?
received something tonight.
Yeah, so, I know I did some, Doug has done some. Gentlemen, can you give us updates where you at?
I was reading through it today. I apologized, to you in advance that I wouldn't have anything for tonight, but
Yep.
I want to just be able to understand exactly what I'm supposed to do.
I was- I'd like
That's
to
where I'm a
echo
little bit
that as well.
confused.
So I have IT and I can see the goals. I did open it up, I read it. I'm just not sure exactly what other information. I did see that sheet, that was an example, but it looks like we have it's pretty detailed. But this one,
Again, I
don't
didn't know,
Okay, guys.
I'm not making
Sorry.
excuses, but I'm making an excuse.
There's a
What?
reason why I didn't bug you for the last couple of months as you guys were getting through budget season, town meeting and stuff, so I can appreciate, because I've been in your chair, so I didn't want to get on you on this, but I am now because it's summertime, and you guys should have some time to start spending on this. So,
And by the way, we do have some for you, so it's not like we don't
yeah,
have anything.
and it's an iterative process. This isn't going to be done in one shot. There's a lot of goals that you guys are responsible for on here, and as you go and look through it. There's a lot of goals that you're not also, that other departments, committees, and boards are responsible for. The purpose of the exercise that you're going through right now is to first make sure that you understand what the goals, the suggested goals were from the community, from our community meetings that we've had in the past, which we've had a few. We also had some departmental and board meetings as well. And so for each major area of the town, there's a number of specific goals out there. So we laid out what the current state is, what the future desired state is, and what some of those, the vision, and what the potential goal statements are, because they're not full goals in here. And what we're looking at doing, the exercise is this, is for one, is for the Board of Selectmen to first and foremost agree upon what you guys want to tackle for goals over the next, between here and 2025. Now, 2025 is a nice name, but it was actually a meaningful date, because I didn't think there was anything on here that would go beyond 8 years, and you really can't plan 3 years out, let alone 10 years out anymore. But I know how long it takes things to get done in town. So the work that needs to be done for you guys is it sounds simple, but it's a lot of work, is to create what we call a SMART goal out of these goal statements. These goal statements are more like vision statements than, I call them goal statements, but they're vision. If it's not specific, if it's not measurable, if it's not actionable, realistic, and time-bound, then it's really just a vision out there. We want a better community, or we want a new town hall. Yep, by when? And what is it going to take to get there? So I've given you guidance on what a SMART goal is, right? You guys all have that. And I've given you some examples of creating those SMART goals. And I've also given you guys a simple template to help you write those goals in. The biggest part, one is creating the smartness around the goal, because you have to have an end date or else it's not a goal, right? And you also have to have a date to work toward, or it's just open-ended and it may not ever happen. The second part to that is actually the action plan. And what I'm trying to do for you guys, and you guys should do rather, is to create this high-level action plan. So when I say an action plan, so one, if you look at the action template that I gave you, it talks about ownership, who owns the goal specifically, and in your case it's the Board of Selectmen. What participation do you need from other boards so they understand that they're part of achieving that goal, and we can communicate to that? What's the funding source, if it's either out of the operational budget, a capital budget, it needs to be a debt exclusion or part of an override. And what is the action plan? Meaning, what are the high-level milestones that have to be accomplished? So, for instance, if you have a goal that's 3 years out from now or 1 year out, what are the things, backward planning, that need to get done in order to accomplish those goals? So, how are you measuring your success toward that goal? Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
I
Okay.
think that makes sense.
What makes
I
sense?
think if we're individually responsible for things, we're not doing this as a board, we're not deciding where the
No.
funding is,
Oh, no.
deciding.
No,
where
no,
the-
no.
You're gonna assign a specific topic to us, because when we talked this afternoon, I know what my goals are. I know I
I
wanna
sent you-
transform the downtown area, I wanna.
No,
make sure-
I sent you what.
But I
what-
couldn't figure
what-
out which ones they were, Joe, in all honesty.
No, I gave you the bullet points on what page, and all that. I said you had the short-term goals, and you had the first 4 of these. And that's what you have to go to each one of these and then do one of these.
So my
And if you follow the example,
Yeah.
that Phil had sent out with the SMART goals and whatever, you just take each bullet point here, you put it up here, and then you talk to this on the SMART.
Right, so if you look
My
at that,
question for the board was, are we going to review these?
Yeah,
as a
so,
board?
that's what I also said. So what I wanted to do is everyone fills them out, and then what we were gonna do is go through each of them as a board.
Okay,
All right, because not everyone's gonna have all the information on every single one. Revise them, and then I was going to submit them to Phil.
gotcha, okay.
yeah.
All right, so I needed the input of the board with your individual goals. Send them to me, Doug actually completely sent them to me. I would take all of Doug's, all of mine, then we would have a discussion about them, see if anybody had, and it would be a long discussion, talking about workshops. That was what I was looking to do, was once I received all of them, schedule a workshop, get everyone together, talk about each bullet point,
Okay.
see if anybody had any more bullet point on each goal, okay? I would put them all together, fire them off to Phil.
so I'm still confused on which ones I'm supposed to be doing. That's my problem.
If you look at your email.
I have, and I'm still confused. I've been confused for a long
You
time.
just start golfing on
57 years of my
Sundays.
life. We'll do that after.
Yeah, I'll look into that
Just
with
tell
you.
me which ones you want me to do, and
Yeah.
I'll do them.
I'll get to that for you. Yeah.
So there's nothing in this
I couldn't figure it out.
exercise that is set in concrete.
This is,
Because I found there were things in there, that I don't agree with at all. It wouldn't have anything to do with it.
yeah, so there are plenty of things in there that there's just the
But
public
this
who.
was just,
Yeah, so the public, many residents, we just, we don't necessarily understand what's possible and what's not possible. And I'm not saying that, they shouldn't, none of us should be thinking of getting creative and out of the box. But, I mean, realistically, there are a few things in here that you as a board may determine that we're not gonna do. And that's up to you as the board, right? And I'll give an example. So as I chair the Historic Commission, we had a number of specific goals on them, and what I did was I sat down with our board, our committee, we reviewed the goals. Does this sound like a goal that it makes sense for us to do? How do we turn this to a SMART goal? Do we all agree that it should be a goal for us? And the answer is yes, or the answer is no. Okay, push it aside. So that's up to you. You guys. Plus, there's only so much you can do in a period of time.
but I'm trying to figure out so we're doing this,
Yeah.
and then whatever goals are picked, it doesn't necessarily mean everything in the entire document, but.
This is probably
But then
about
we
a
have to get to-
$100 million book
Right,
if we were
right,
to try to
right.
accomplish everything.
Right, but I mean, that's a long-term type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, what I'm looking at is that, I don't know that we've got to the point yet to where we prioritize.
So what the process from here, once we get all of the goals that are committed and supported by the committee who owns the goal, because ultimately that committee or the board or department will accomplish that endeavor, or they won't even start it. Once we get all that together, then we're going to get together organizationally, internally, to start prioritizing that. Because, and I've said this to the other committees and boards and departments in town, and I'll reiterate it to them: if it doesn't get in the plan, then something is going to be prioritized over it. And ultimately, you guys can, it's almost like take a bunch of Post-it notes. Here are all the different goals up there. Here are the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. Here's the cost to them. Okay, let's start to prioritize what's most important, and then you'll see what falls off the list and what stays on the list. And a lot of that has to do with funding as a mechanism as well.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, there's got to be some reconciliation and prioritization of those.
And if I may, I'll actually go over one of mine that I did, and and just give you an example of. And again, this is a talking point right now. This is not Joe Bonavita, and this is going to be set in stone because I might have omitted something. So or maybe someone disagrees with it. Maybe something just pure gibberish, right? And we have to get rid of it. But that's what the workshop was going to be. And I was thinking even, because we have one meeting in July, maybe even taking a day sometime in July, maybe to go over it and take care of it. But, one of them that I had was under the financial stability goals, and it was investigate other sources of revenue. So, you start with specific, what do I want to achieve, right? So what I would want to achieve is do an analysis of current revenue and provide different ways to bring in different revenue to the budget, right? Why do I want to achieve this? I don't want to be reliant on one source of revenue in the town. What are the requirements? Bring in different people to provide different points of view. What are the constraints? Time and money, right? How will I measure progress? Progress will be measured by feedback from other folks and provide realistic goals, from different revenue sources at that standpoint. How can the goal be accomplished? Communication would be imperative. Steps would include different boards getting together to share different ideas on creating that revenue. Is it a worthwhile goal? Yes. Diversification of revenue sources would improve the likelihood of a strong, stable economy in town in the near future. How long will it take to achieve the goal? This would be an ongoing process and would need to be identified on a realistic basis moving forward. Who specifically owns the goal? Personally, I thought the Director of Economic Development, along with the committee members on economic development. What other departments, committees, or organizations need to contribute? I said Board of Selectmen, Town Planner, Conservation. What funding mechanism will likely be required? Possible economic director with a salary and budget for expenses, about $60,000 annually through the operating budget. And what are the high-level milestones to accomplish this goal? Hire a director, create a process, build rapport with outside people in the community to develop different opportunities, work with current businesses in the area as well. So just, again, different ideas, that go towards that one specific bullet point that was in this thing. Okay?
By when?
Well, I didn't get to that point.
It's almost there.
Well, it's funny you say that because it was an interesting question because I really didn't have any idea. I said, well, I think it would depend on a lot of different factors.
It will. But if you don't put a time frame in there, then you will never know how close you are to achieving your goal, and in some sane time frame.
Well, and I, as much as I was unclear about that, again, conversation piece,
I think
amongst the board.
That's where. So, for instance, I see what you did, Joe. So I have established a town financial officer responsible for development, maintenance, and sustainability. Even though I know we don't have the money to do that, that's my point. Is right. So I can just kind of put pie in the sky, right? That at some point in time, with all the other fixes that we're doing, like an economic development plan for downtown and stuff like that, we will have the money. So is that kind of assumed in there, or challenge? Where are we going to find the funding, or do I have to come up with a funding source?
Well, it's one of the questions.
What is the funding mechanism, right? For that.
Unknown.
Well, today you need an override. It's not in the operational budget.
Well, that's come up with those solutions. Okay.
Yeah.
That's.
I
I
mean,
think
no,
I know what I got to do now, Joe.
you know.
I was totally confused. All right.
Or I should say, and the other is maybe you can put it in the operational budget, but, you know, for 5 years from now, right? Is there a way, and it may be, it may be either or, right? I mean, a lot of this stuff is gonna, it will change as you go, and things will change, but you'll find that, you know, without a time frame on anything, Joe, then you're gonna, it's just gonna go for
I know where you're coming from.
so long.
But it's also really hard to put a time frame on something when you don't really know, you know, where your budgets are, and you know, you could basically call every single one of these an override, you know, if you really wanted to.
Well, so just think about this for a second. This one particular case. When would you like to see this done? With everything new, you know, that's going on in the town, though. When would you like to see this done?
Tomorrow.
When would you realistically like to see this done?
Yeah, next budget season, you know, by next fiscal year.
Great. Then that's the time frame you want it in. You'll work toward that. And if you can't and you have to change, then you adjust the plan next year.
So,
I would say that if you can't really, you know, quantify, you can't determine if we're ever gonna do it, I think that stays as a vision, right? The town decided that they wanted to do that, but if you can't transform that into a SMART goal because of budget constraints or logistics, whatever, you shouldn't try to squeeze that in as a goal, right? Because then it's not smart at that point.
Well, the funding really doesn't matter about the goal itself. The funding on the action plan does, right? And then the prioritization,
Yeah.
right?
So are we still holding on to ones as a vision as opposed to, like, if we determine as a group that we can't really create a SMART goal out of this,
If you
what do
can't,
we do with it? Is it, I mean, is it gonna be removed from the document that?
it's not part of the plan. It doesn't make the plan.
Okay.
Doesn't make the plan. Not everything has to be in the plan, and vice versa. If it's not on, if it's not in this,
Townspeople, that's what they want.
yeah,
rather
but
than they-
this is a
But I see what you're
this is
saying,
a
yeah.
recommendation from the
Right.
community to us
Gotcha.
or to you, and
We're seeing if it is feasible.
yeah, and but you should. I mean, when you have to present this to the town, and at some point, some people are going to say, "Well, I thought we agreed at our community meeting that we were going to, as one of our goals was going to be X." And whoever's responsible for that X needs to be able to defend the reason why we can't make it into the plan. We just don't see that ever happening. We're not going to put a sewage system in the town. We just, it's not feasible.
Bad reference.
I didn't say package, sewage treatment plan. I said sewage in the town, throughout the town. Cover my ass here. All right, go ahead.
Derek?
I'm trying to understand the procedure of how we got here and perhaps build on some of what I think I've been hearing out of Steve. And I mean, you're asking us to put in a lot of work on something that's gonna perhaps be not part of the plan. And I sort of remember the exercises. I think I went to, I don't know, I think I was out of town for one, so I think I went to two.
Yeah.
And I believe afterwards, this board put together a board to carry on, which is, I guess, what you're chairing. But after that, now, you can say this is the vision of the community, but how do we know what's the, is this the vision, or as I just heard, the wish list of individuals? I mean, you know, there was I can remember once something being brought up there about the problem with the traffic in the square, and someone said, well, maybe we just need to get some help putting overpass in. Okay, is that in here? I mean, how did you break out, and who is approved going forward? What's the wish list of individuals, and what is the input of the community as a whole? How did we get to here? And shouldn't at some point, I guess you haven't, to me, you haven't reported to us. You've come back and said, here, do this.
Wait a second. So you attended at least one of those community meetings. Were you at
Two
the
of them, I believe.
two? Good. And
I possibly, I think I was out of town for one.
so do you remember the exercises where we had the easels? We had first we had everyone.
Yeah, copies of them all in my basement.
Yeah. So what came out of that meeting was a list of, say, 250 different things. Okay, and from 8 groups of 8 people or whatever. And they were all pretty much in all these different, there were a couple that actually we didn't include in those meetings because they were a little bit more specific. I think IT and some other stuff here. From those meetings, we as the committee, the steering committee, if you wish, reviewed all of those with the, what was her name, Kimberly? Yeah. Kimberly from the Collins Center. And we came down with a much more consolidated list of what we heard repetitively in those meetings. We also took it a step further, and we had a full day departmental meeting with all of Mike's, all of Town Hall, and the department heads and other committee and board members came to those. And we took off a whole bunch of other stuff that was pie in the sky stuff. So it's been kind of gone through 2 iterations of that. This was the report back to you guys of the consolidation of what's possible, what is more realistic of that. And then for the
It was some time ago when that got given us to us.
yes, so it's been in your hands, and it's been in all the other boards and committees' hands now for a while. And their job was to take these goals in here, selectively review these as a board and committee, and determine what you actually want to put into the plan, both
So
long-term and
think-
short-term. I'm not telling you.
I think we possibly missed that end of it, have we? Because I don't remember, really, we've received that, but I don't remember going over that.
And we did, we did in the basement, it was just me, you and Phil, because nobody else showed up.
That's right. I
The
remember.
basement of this building, me, you and
that
Phil,
was-
we kinda went over
we
this.
we had a meeting on the second floor, not the basement, okay, yes, and I remember that. And I had to leave for another meeting, but we went over these.
Yeah, we also went over that though, in the basement, I thought. It's not foreign to me,
So what I have told this board over the last X amount of months is, it's up to you guys, and I could give you my input and my feedback and stuff, but I'm not gonna tell you how to operate and do this, it's up to you guys. But what I told you I did with my board is, before I gave these, says to everyone, says, fill these plans out, let's first all talk and make sure that these goals make sense for us. And if there are some here that don't make sense, then we're not going to put it
That's what I'm
into the
saying, I
plan.
don't think we've done as a board.
So
I cannot
I-
remember that part of this exercise.
That's up to you guys, and I'm not gonna tell you how to run this workshop or whatever, but, I think, Joe, you've given these guys direction to take a few goals, and then, you're all coming back together to determine what
And I think
makes
that's
sense or
when we get
not.
to that point.
So I think you're just flipping,
This is
yeah,
crazy.
I think
Yeah,
you're
just gonna
you're flipping
do
it.
this first, and then we'll come together and we'll chat.
Like a Saturday workshop.
And again, you have 3 attachments there that Phil had sent out, and we just need to take the bullet points, follow the lead, from those examples, and give your input. This is what it is. It's really more giving your input on these goals, and then we'll come up as a board, with the best possible outcome that we can.
I
Really
think if
looking
there's
at
one
all
on there,
this.
and you
So-
look at it and you think, this is pie in the sky,
That's
I'm just
right.
gonna
Does
put
it-
pie in the sky, I'm not even gonna waste my time. I don't think there is anything
Well, I
in there
mean,
that's gonna waste your time on.
Perhaps if we had had the discussion, the exercise that I said I feel that we've missed, perhaps we could have bought into some of this stuff individually. But I mean, if you think that Gary is going to take a long-term goal to create a biannual electronic newsletter,
You're not gonna
You-
own it,
you
just,
know me.
no, I know, how to do it. When you think.
No, that's why we gave it.
that does not belong to Gary. I mean,
That's why
let's
we gave
just-
it to you, Gary. There's a little nudge. There's a nudge.
But I think in that case,
Oh, I love it.
Implement the Public Works Department. That does not belong to Gary.
no, it's not that
Okay?
you're gonna do it, it's just come up with, does it make sense? How,
Well,
when would you wanna see it done?
You got my answer on both of them, I think. Do you need a
Just
long, so you
passionate.
want me to write out a long-winded answer on these things? It might have been better if we'd have gone over that exercise that I feel we missed, and I might have looked at here and
why I
and
wrote
said,
what I did in that.
hire a part-time economic development director. I could have
That's why
bought
I
into
wrote
that, you know?
Well, then if you get ones that you don't buy into, just put not bought
I
into.
just,
The
I feel, here's my feelings. I feel that.
So my recommendation is, Gary's approach, I think, is a, probably an easier way to do this, because I think what you guys need to do is just list the goals out on a board first, and then have a conversation if they're worthy or not. And once you do that, then you can divide them up and say, that's something I'm interested in, I'll take that, you take this one, et cetera, et cetera. And if there's stuff that's missing, you can all collectively, 'cause
Well,
You gotta give us more
that way
time.
too, but
Because if we're gonna, that's another meeting.
I don't wanna have to make this 2030, by the way.
no, listen, here's, I mean, you know, guys, listen, I talked to Phil, I told him we were gonna get this done, all right? I know we had a goal actually right around now. We have a meeting on the 11th coming up. I know you're not here.
Yeah, is it the
No, that's
July-
economic development.
What? 10th, whatever. Is that, you know, the-
You will not get this accomplished at a regular board meeting.
No. What I'm saying is, I would like to have everybody's. Again, I was hoping for tonight, but now that we're here, let's set a goal for. If we're getting together on the 10th, you know, give me the prior Wednesday, so I can get some of this stuff together, okay? And then we'll have our meeting on was it the 10th? And then, again, we have one meeting in July, okay? When are you back, Dave?
17th.
17th. At the meeting, we'll devise another kind of workshop. At that point in time, I'll put everything together. We'll get different inputs, okay, from everybody, okay? It's gonna be a workshop, not a meeting, okay? And then I'll get everything to you.
Yeah, in that workshop, I would just get one thing accomplished, and my recommendation is to just prioritize the ones you're gonna keep and the ones that you're not, and add any that are not listed on there, just so then you can all go back, and the ones that you're interested in, you can work on them, and then you can come back together and then figure out
Listen,
what.
I'll have my computer, I'm gonna be, you know, banging away, you know, as we go.
So should we stick with the
So-
ones you've assigned to us?
Yes,
I'm gonna do mine, you'll have mine.
yep, just do them like I said, even if we're not
I
gonna
know
keep
what I'm
let's-
doing now, I get
Let's
it.
do them.
I tried
and
to
let's
do
put
it
it together.
finally, because I struggled with it going, well,
Yes.
I don't know if I agree with this or that, and I said, well, wait a minute, why don't I just take it as, okay, let's say this is happening, how would we go about and do
Right,
it,
exactly.
you know?
It may not even happen. We may get
That's
together
right.
and say,
It may
It might,
get
it
that.
might not be my opinion.
Right.
But if we were gonna do something.
Listen, one of them that I had to do was develop a grant writer, right? I don't think we're coming up with a grant writer. I mean, I think everyone's gonna kind of do their own thing, right? But, you know, did it, you know, and if we don't feel like moving forward, we're gonna do it, fine, no problem. We don't bang it out on the board.
So you could perhaps encourage others to grant write through the people that we have that already write grants and say, how do you do it? And how do we get them to encourage others that are working here, perhaps follow the method that they're using?
Add that goal to Gary's.
Or another simple way to do that is double the amount of grants by 2025 that we receive, and then put a plan backwards
Get
to
a
do
grant for
that.
a grant
So,
writer.
there's a million ways to kind of look at these, but,
Actually, you know what, Gary, I did one, and you probably do better than I did on this one, but let me go with you after the meeting, I'll give you this one, because I know it's right up your alley. All right, so that's what my plan is. It's in motion, okay? I told you it was gonna be on my agenda, we'll get it done for you.
sure.
It's
not for me.
For me. No, you know what? Listen, I appreciate the time that you've put into this. You've had a passion for it. I think other people should back you up here. Okay, it shouldn't be you on an island somewhere.
I wish
Yeah,
it
well, we're
was
gonna back you up.
sometimes. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
what?
I'm gonna back you up to make sure this gets done. Okay. So again, everyone will
Golfing
have
on
it.
Sundays with you.
Everybody have it to me by the Wednesday before the 10th, whatever the date that is. And the 5th, okay, so by the 5th, I'll bring it all together, and then at the 10th meeting, we'll come up with a date for a workshop that is mutually beneficial for everybody, okay? We'll bang it out, and then I'll have a final report to you. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Phil while he's here? He sat through
No, I appreciate
a lot of
you
commentary and everything else tonight, so
I
I want to
haven't
make
missed
sure it was
much.
what you want.
No, this is good.
You frequent the golf cart, the drink cart.
He gave me a couple. Yeah, I like a couple of drinks on it. Okay.
Mike, I'm gonna get you a list of all of the goals that I've received so far and what they are. There's
Okay, yeah.
still a bunch that are still,
Phil, question, what was the thank you.
Oh
date that you sent us to? Is that dated what you have? Just so I can,
originally,
I didn't keep it in my, I know I looked it over, I know I read it, so this will just help me to, this is another one, okay, great.
It's the same-
That way I won't have to just try and dig it out,
it's the same one, and you don't have to print it.
it's finding it.
And you can even have my guidance on how
Okay,
to
no,
do it.
I know I've flipped it over in that, I just,
I know, you haven't,
it hasn't been on our agenda, so it hasn't been on my agenda, is what you gotta understand.
I took it off your agenda for the last few months because of your workload that you guys have had, so
Yeah.
I wanna be fair as well, so.
Thank you, Phil. We
All
appreciate
right.
it, buddy.
Okay, guys.
All right, guys. Minutes from June 12th.
Motion to approve the minutes as written from June 12th.
Wait a minute.
What?
I gotta get them up. Discussion.
Did I already get a motion in a second?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I already read them.
Okay, I read them as well. Discussion, I know. Discussion. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Me? Okay. Moving,
I'm sorry. Aye.
moving forward. All right, that was
I
unanimous.
was reading something.
I'd like to acknowledge the resignation of Mr. Ashley Pearson from the FinCom board. Ash, thank you so much for your time on the FinCom board. You were a great member. The town certainly appreciates your service, so thank you very much. Moving on. Going down. Okay. All right, Mike, town administrator's report. Committee handbook updates.
Mike, the handbook. And the key card.
I read through this.
Committee handbook.
Yeah, we had to make some changes and updates. The biggest one had to do with the procurement. We consolidated and updated it to be where it should be. Let me pull this up. And I wanted to add, when we first wrote this, we didn't have email for all the members of the committees. So at the very end, I'm asking the board to approve a new email
Is that page 25?
usage, yeah. The other part of that is we don't have a very good participation rate in the usage of the emails. And it's in violation of the open public records laws. That's why we went through the expense of getting everybody emails. And they're still not using them. A lot of people aren't.
Are you talking about on this board or other?
All boards combined.
All boards, okay.
So,
How can we rectify that?
well, put the email usage in the handbook and have people sign off on the handbook, which they already do. You know, I'm just bringing that to everybody's attention, that I'd say
It's an education issue. It's an education issue,
50% don't use them.
Yeah. It's an education issue. You just have to keep communicating to these boards and commissions that they have to use a georgetown.gov email. I do it not the committees that I'm on
I
all
think
the time.
that needs to come from the Board of Selectmen, because they just blow me off.
So how can we do that?
Send them an email. No. I know that doesn't work.
Why don't we direct the chairman to send a letter to reminding all chairs of all committees that their members are to be using the .gov email and that they should communicate that at every meeting.
I would second it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I hope I don't have to go to every meeting.
No,
For
just send
every
out a letter.
board, so-
Just send a letter to everybody.
That'd be sufficient, Mike?
Well, that'd be a start. I mean, I try to only communicate via that, and my emails don't get answered.
Yep.
And they say, oh, use my other one. I said, well, I can't.
And you shouldn't be either.
Right.
Shouldn't the email address people be on the website anyhow?
I believe it is.
Some are, some aren't.
Some aren't?
Some of it, they got taken off when we went to the new boards and commissions page, and I can say, just because it gets to be a lot to keep it all up to date, as every year we we reappoint people and we appoint people, and then we have to go onto the website and change, and then it was, you have to go, now I go onto a boards and commission page and I can click, someone's reappointed, I just have to do a click and it reappoints them, and otherwise we have to go into every board and commission page and add in, take off, change things, and, things get
Right.
missed.
But if we're gonna have Georgetown email addresses and elected officials have Georgetown email addresses, then people should be able to have a way to contact us. If
And
they
a lot
don't
of
see
them,
an email on the board,
I think a lot of the elected, maybe I'll have to look at them, but we can work on getting them up there, but it is, we're trying to
Yeah.
make it easier
Oh, I know.
and to keep it up to date more, because
know.
with all the changes, it's hard to keep it
Well,
all up to date.
If I may, and I'm throwing it out there, because it is what it is. I think that letter is going to be hard coming from this board when we actually have a member who doesn't use email.
I don't think, if I may,
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I don't think that that is a problem. I think the problem is if you have email and you have that capability, this person doesn't have the capability at home, okay?
Yeah, but they don't know
And-
that,
and-
Gary.
and so,
That's the problem, I
listen,
think.
that, I've gotten by this far, okay, like this. Now, and I'm not trying to make the point there. What I'm trying to make the point of is that if you have the capability of email, what you're being told is, when you do this, you should be using the town email website. That's what you're asking people to do. If somebody doesn't, like me, doesn't have that capability, then they're not gonna use it. And they should tell us, I don't have that capability, okay? But if you've got the capability there, then you should be, what you're trying to say is you should be using the town website.
Right, but
That's-
what I'm saying is,
I
a
don't
lot of
think
people
that-
don't know that.
I don't
that you
think
don't have
that-
access to it. They're gonna say, well, how can they send it as a board when we know that Gary doesn't use email as well, not knowing that you don't have access to it. They just think you don't wanna use it. And we can't go to every board saying, well, Gary doesn't have it, Gary doesn't have it, Gary doesn't have it. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Where
not
have you
gonna.
had to go and explain this?
I'm not saying I have had to. I'm saying
No, I mean,
if I
I-
send this letter out, Gary, and someone knows that you don't use email and it's coming
Excuse
from,
me,
hold
but-
on, that it's coming from the Board of Selectmen, okay? They're gonna say, who the hell are they, to say I have to use email, right, when one of their board members
They're not
doesn't.
trying to say you have to use email. What you're trying to say is that if you are using email, then you should be using the town email website to communicate. That's by law. By law,
So you're saying.
I don't have email, so it's not gonna affect me. But if I had email and I wasn't using it, then I'm possibly breaking the law. Am I understanding that correct over there? Because that's what you're saying?
Well,
by
we don't
open
have
meeting
a
law?
record of it on our servers. And if somebody requested the information that was discussed, then we couldn't provide it.
That's mostly the point that he's saying. If you've got it and you're using it, by law, you're supposed to be doing it that way.
So-
Not a problem for me.
There's no
Yeah.
statute that requires any selectman to use email. You can communicate.
So it's not
with
as much as using email as opposed to people using the personal emails?
Yes, right.
Then you don't have the
So I
record.
misunderstood. I thought you were saying that they had, if
No,
we're
no,
gonna
no.
communicate
I'm sorry.
within.
You didn't understand that then.
Alright,
Yeah,
so that's
People
my
are
bad.
using
Alright.
Gmail,
So-
they're using
Yeah,
AOL,
alright,
they're using that
got
stuff.
it. Now I get it. Okay. I
because the
misunderstood.
people
I thought again that
who
you were
do
saying
use
you have
that
to use.
are subject themselves to a search of their private emails.
A whole
Got
different
it.
set of rules.
Okay.
So there's nothing that says we have to use email. If we do use it though, you have to use the
got
.gov.
it.
Yeah.
So basically, this is all stop using your personal email addresses and use the
Yeah.
.gov.
I think
Yeah.
email
addresses. Got it. Okay.
I think the important part to emphasize is just what Mike just said about part of the reasons why I could get it by going on where I work, you know, but I'd now be opening their computers up to possible seizure at some point by using your work email, and that's something that I think everybody needs to be aware of. Maybe make a copy of that part of the open meeting law, and that's what needs to go out, so that people know that, you know, how many of you use your work? You know, and do this.
I've responded on my phone, not knowing that it was set up to outgoing was going on my Gmail, and I corrected it right away.
Yeah.
You know, so you gotta be careful because
Well,
it can.
yeah.
You
It's,
know,
yeah. So I mean, if we can send a letter, you know, to the boards, I think that's an important point. That if they're going to communicate, then it has to be through the town's email.
I have some more questions though on this, the changes to the.
Yeah.
I know we added a liaison. We've kind of had that in the past, but that's just you've actually just put it in writing, Mike. Liaison to other boards.
Yeah.
I think if you're serving on those boards, you should be the liaison. But that was just to other boards. It wasn't to other departments. I can't.
Boards.
Other boards.
I think it's good to add.
Yeah, I think that was a good ad. The other thing was the requirement of each department having to do an annual report. Each board and commission have to do an annual
Yes.
report.
Mhm.
The only other one was in there was about the using the use of a credit card, which concerned me. Is that part of that P card thing?
Yeah.
That was separate.
That's a separate item.
Yeah.
It's not in the,
Oh, I thought there was something in this that said something about the use of a credit card.
Yeah, the P card policy. I thought was.
No, but in this
Oh, in this one.
selectmen
Oh, in this one. Okay.
I could swear there was something in there that said something about the use of a credit card, Mike. No?
I don't think so, because
think I-
no one
haven't
can use
had
a
one.
credit card right now.
Okay.
Well, that's not exactly true. We do have individual store, like we have a credit account at Home Depot and a credit account at other places.
Okay, so that wasn't in this. I
No, that's a
misunderstood.
separate
Okay.
Issue
That was my
altogether.
lunchtime reading. I was a little confused.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Gary.
On 5.7, you've taken that out. Now, what is covering that? 'Cause 5.4, or you feel that you're covering that and we don't need to, I mean, is this,
Yeah, basically, I'm having, they need to run everything through the certified purchasing officer, me. I have committees going out buying things that they shouldn't be buying, or they buy them improperly, especially with these new changes. So basically, anything they're purchasing over $10,000, they have to go through me.
okay, but I guess what I'm trying to understand is if they come with a, like we do sign contracts, so this is those contracts, this is contracts that they've hired, okay?
Purchasing goods and services.
Okay,
More than 10,000?
but like if
Yeah.
Camp Dennison was to do a septic system contract, then we don't sign off on that in any way, or we wouldn't see it. That's what I'm trying to say. How big of a change is this?
Well, going forward, you should see them.
Because that's what I was going to say.
Only the Board of Selectmen should enter into contracts.
But you've taken that out. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if they go through me like they're supposed to, then it will go through you when necessary. That's why I'm just trying to simplify things, just.
And
Well,
I just wanna
anything-
make sure, because it's
Yeah.
also another way that we know what's going on.
Right,
And,
right.
and it doesn't look good if someone says, yeah, find a car, didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, it's a courtesy of us to know what's going
But
on
if-
also.
But if the chief
don't wanna slow it
enters into
down.
a contract to buy bullets from, ammunition, we don't see those contracts. We've never seen stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
So
if he
as long as
buys,
it's under
if he
10,000?
if he buys it under state bid, then
We wouldn't,
then the procurement laws allow that to happen.
or if
And
Camp
then-
Dennison's gonna pay a contract that says over the next 5 years, you're gonna pump the septic systems at $1,000 a year, those don't have to come to us.
No, only major purchases for
Above
supplies and
10,000?
services, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cause it wasn't being done in all
It's been going on
occasions.
for years.
So should we perhaps put in a figure there, if I can continue there, or, you know, over 10,000 or something, or?
I think that's already in there,
It's in
right?
there.
It's in there.
Well,
It's in the other
it's
section.
in, it's in 4.5, 5.4?
Let's see,
Yeah, 5.4, Mike. it's
5.4.
Okay, so it's saying the chief purchasing officer, which is Mike, must be
Yeah.
consulted,
Right,
greater than 10,000.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that they have to come to us.
no, but when, what I'm saying, Gary, is if we have to, and we do have to have a contract for that, I'm gonna bring it to you for signatures.
Okay. Okay.
Matter of fact, we don't have the, what happened, the East Main Street project.
Oh, the contract's on the table, that's.
Oh, there's a East Main Street contract on the table downstairs for you to sign.
No, okay.
For everybody to sign?
Yes.
Okay, make sure we sign that
Yes.
before we leave.
If I can add another small, I couldn't remember this at first, but I did go through my records, and we approved this back on June 3rd of 2013, the board that was presently here. But when we approve things like this, do we sign them? I mean, because I think it would be good.
Not normally.
No,
Janet just marks.
Would it be good to have
When
a
it was-
signature page with a date so that future boards know at least where this came from and how old these documents are? I mean, it is stated in the front, 2013, and we're revising it now, so. Maybe that's good enough if you, but, I've seen other
We will put a
things.
revision.
I've seen other things that we've done, and we've had a page where we've signed at this date, these Board of Selectmen, and I don't think that would be bad to put on.
I think you
things.
should put a revised date, or a created date, revised date. Right on the document, and then you know it's the latest and greatest. Then they can always go to the minutes.
That's, I said, I would put a revised date.
Yeah, put a date on it, yeah. If I can make that suggestion, Mr. Chairman, sorry.
But you were talking about the liaison section.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I like it.
but what I'm suggesting, and this is I'm just bringing this to the board. Other communities, the selectmen aren't necessarily members of the board. We do that because we can't get enough volunteers to do it. What this is saying, the Board of Selectmen act as a liaison. They're not members of the board. They're not voting
So what
members.
board? The board there,
Any board, other than the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
That's what this is saying.
oh, I mean, right, I mean,
It
but
could be
most of us are
non-voting.
sitting on all those major boards anyway, or have some type, like, we're not, I mean, obviously, we can't be on FinCom, but, I mean, it seems to me the chair of this committee, this board is usually the liaison to the chair, it goes chair to chair, even though you don't sit on that committee. But wouldn't it make sense for the ones that we sit, like, I'm on the Affordable Housing Trust, wouldn't you think that I should be the liaison to the Affordable Housing in town to the Board of Selectmen? 'Cause
Yeah, it does.
I'm there at the meetings.
I'm
you know,
I'm just stating, you know, the only reason why the board members are, the Board of Selectmen are on boards, other boards, is because there's not enough bodies to
Oh,
fill.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Normally,
Right.
the Board of Selectmen sit on the Board of Selectmen. They're not voting members
No.
of any other board.
Well, I can tell you the trust is set up where it has to be, as a selectman has
Yeah.
to sit on it.
Yeah.
On
It's
some of the
set up.
trusts, you can't get away from that, but.
Mm-hmm. But there's,
So if we had enough members, the board members would be liaisons rather than members.
yes.
It's, if I may, I think it's sort of like, since we changed the makeup of the community preservation, I've been on that. But it doesn't mean it has to be Gary. We could appoint anybody. It's like the selectmen are the appointing authority
Right.
for that board. That
Mhm.
member that we appoint does not have to be a member of a board of selectmen.
That's right.
But if there's a real interest there, should we take it away if we want to and nobody else, or people from the community take a step forward? I mean, last year Steve would have liked to have been that liaison, but we settled that and I kept
Well,
going on.
all I'm pointing out is the difference between being a liaison
Yeah.
and a voting board member.
See,
Doesn't say you
I
have
thought
to.
what you were,
Doesn't say you have, it's just either or, right?
see,
You can do whatever you want. I'm just
Right.
giving you a different
Each year, the
approach.
chair of the Board of Selectmen assigns each selectman to be a liaison to several town boards and committees. So that can be whether ones you sit on and ones you don't sit on.
Yeah,
It doesn't say you have to.
No.
that's the way I
Yeah.
read
Yeah,
this.
I know the
Nobody
problem.
It gives us
liaisons,
better
Yeah, I
communication
know
with
the
all the boards
nobody
and committees.
liaisons with the ZBA or the planning board or the conservation commission.
Right.
Those are three of the most important
I was
boards.
gonna say,
in
we
town.
probably should.
Well, we used to have liaison to the fire department, we used to have a liaison to the schools, Joe's liaison to the schools. We used to have fire department, police, public safety, we used to have that. I mean, I was the liaison to the state delegation. I
Mhm.
still, in federal delegation, I still consider myself that because of the communication I had with them.
Without
but-
spreading yourselves too thin, that's
Right.
a
Yeah.
good practice.
Right.
The FinCom does that too, with departments. They have different departments.
Yeah, when I was on FinCom, I was liaison
me
to
too.
the school board.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if that's something that we want to adopt, we can certainly talk about that and,
Well,
okay.
I think we could put it in there, we just haven't got it settled as how we wanna approach it, but I mean, I do think that's good that we have
Well,
a
it gives the-
liaison to all the boards.
It gives the power to the chairman to assign you though, which I have no problem with. That's how we used to do it all the time. Back in the, when we first started out, I was liaison to the fire department.
Well, certainly, if that was the case, I mean, as chair, I would get feedback,
Of course, you
because
know,
I would
yeah.
want to make sure that whoever was liaison to any board would have a genuine interest to be a liaison there. So, yeah. I
Do you
mean,
want a motion?
yeah. Anybody else have any other comments about anything on here?
That was good.
I think everything here looks pretty good. So yeah, let's hear a motion.
I move to accept the Town of Georgetown Committee Handbook as revised at tonight's meeting and stamp revised, why don't we change it to 6/26/2017.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Mike, in the sense of time, I know we have this P card thing. Can we, is that vital that we talk about this tonight? If not, I'd like to skip over it, for our next meeting.
no, we can postpone that.
Okay, let's
One thing
skip over
I
that.
can't have you postpone is
The appointments.
the line item transfer.
Oh, I'm sorry, you had one other thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
Well, as you can see, I brought it before the Finance Committee last week. We had some additional you've already signed a line item transfer at our last meeting. These are last minute requests. Right now, in closing out some of the town hall expenses, we're gonna get bills until the first 2 weeks of July. Some areas are short, primarily electricity. We used a lot more electricity here in the town hall as heat. And there are just other smaller expenses. I think they total about $15,000. But I don't have, and I won't have a good handle on it until July. So in order for us to pay any of the bills, I'm asking that we transfer unspent money from the Essex North Shore Tech line. We had budgeted $95,000 there, and I believe I explained we only got a bill for about $45,000. So there's a big amount left over. The whole idea is if and when we don't spend it, which the majority of it we won't, it's going to go back to free cash anyway. So in order to, so I don't have to come back, well, this is my last chance before
So it's
July
available
10th.
for pay any additional
Yeah.
expenses for.
So you gotta pay it. You gotta pay it.
On number two, the reason why there's so much money left in the salary account is because we budgeted for a full year of the additional hours for staff. We thought we were gonna be moving in, in September, let alone December. But since we didn't know when we'd be finished, we budgeted an amount we thought was for the full year. So we didn't use $22,480 in the salary line. Colleen has, and this came up after the project, for all intents and purposes, was spent. She met with, actually Fred and Chief Cudmore met with her and suggested additional, well, not additional, we didn't budget for any security apparatus or cameras, things like that in that project. And by moving it into the expensive purchase of services, we could do some things in the area of security.
Right, so we have this money to use
Yes.
towards security.
So I'm
Makes
asking
sense
to
to me.
transfer it over there. And then the number three, when we calculated the health insurance expense, we had a guess at the last bill, and we were $510 off. So we have plenty of money in the dental insurance line, and the $510 will let us pay the June health insurance line bill.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the 3 line item transfers requested by the town administrator as presented.
Second.
Second, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Doug.
So the Council on Aging, Mike, the Council on Aging, could some of this $22,480 be used to aid in her unexpected expense?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
For Comcast and all that?
We've already covered that,
Yeah.
yes.
All right. And then why?
Actually, we're covering it in FY18. I told BSS that, I had anticipated that being can put into all of our bills, but, then we were in effect doing that.
And then I'm just curious, when we budgeted $95,000 for Essex Tech, was that in line with what we were paying?
That's in line with what they told us.
Oh, okay.
The problem with Essex Tech is they don't bill us until October. And so they were, a year ago, May, they said, well, you know, we've got this many people, we've got this many that are in here, you've got one senior, that's gonna drop off, we've got X number of people applying, we anticipate, X minus Y getting in, and they give me a number. But then in October, when everybody actually shows up for class, then they bill us.
Have they been typically that far off?
No, this was the first time. And that's why I budgeted similarly. I
Yeah.
budgeted 95,000.
All right,
It was an anomaly, really.
all right.
So, if it looked like, you know, 45 was gonna be the number, then I wouldn't have budgeted any
Well, we need
more.
to keep an eye on that for upcoming,
Absolutely.
to make sure that they
Mhm.
don't do that again.
Yep.
Hi, Gary, do you have any other questions?
It was, there's still money left over, isn't there, for the project? So is it
No,
just because
we've
this?
spent all the project money.
Oh, okay.
Even the contingency?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody else? All right, so we have a motion and a second, if there's no more conversation, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Okay. All right, last but certainly not least, let's see, actually, Mike, anything else from the
No.
town administrator report?
Um,
Anything else you wanna add?
No.
No, okay. So board and committee appointments, we got through a bunch of them last meeting and need to finish them off.
So, I have a question on the affordable housing one. Is that Heather B, I don't think that's spelled right. Is it Fejes? And I don't remember ever appointing anybody else to the task force. Is you sure that's right, Janet? I don't ever remember that being done. Can you just do some research on that?
I'll look it up, yeah, it
The
says
rest leave
six
vacant.
27, 6.
I don't, yeah, I can't, I don't remember that at all.
Good question. Hopefully this is where it stopped.
All right, capital improvement committee, Mr. Chairman, is that where we're on?
That we were just talking about, is that where we left off?
Well, it's
Well, I think
yellow,
we
so we're
skipped
just going by
that
the
one.
yellow
Yeah,
ones.
the yellow one, right? For capital improvement?
Jeff Gillen, we good on that one?
Right, he was the only selectman appointment that need,
Yeah, cause I mean,
Jeff Gillen is a FinCom appointment,
page on
right?
I
yeah,
am.
we started at affordable housing task, so we're gonna skip over that one.
Yeah.
Yep, so
Capital
two
improvement.
on the bottom.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Jeff Gillen to the capital
That's a
improvement.
FinCom appointment, we don't need to do
Keep
that.
going.
FinCom?
I don't make any motion, Mr. Chairman, it's
That's
getting
right,
late.
that's
Hey,
The
sorry.
selectmen's nominees are
Both
Rusty and
entities,
Don.
that's why you
Cudmore.
didn't do that yet. That one still needs to be done, but it needs to be done by FinCom.
Okay, so why is it highlighted for us?
It's just highlighted.
Just to confuse me when it's 10:30.
Yeah. So it has to be done still.
Conservation Commission,
We did
I
that.
think
we're good on that one?
Richard Mullen?
yeah,
Oh, he's,
I asked the conservation agent about, he came to a couple of meetings, but the gentleman may be moving out of town, so
Right,
he's
so
not
we
ready
will-
to make
Good.
a jump on yet.
Slot food vacant. Right, fence viewer.
Fence,
That sounds like a good job for you, fence viewer.
fence viewer.
I wanna own the mobile, the ice cream truck.
Oh, man. I think that brings us down to Park and Rec. Did we get any, What, no, did I miss something?
No.
We need to reappoint them.
I think that's where we stopped.
I think,
Yeah.
well, I think we
Mhm.
skipped over them
Oh, all right.
originally, so, but that's the thing, I think someone was gonna reach out and ask them if they were all coming back, or what the deal
Or
was.
we're gonna have nobody there,
Well, when you
Take care
talked to
of
Dave
things.
Shaw, did you ask him that?
I didn't talk to them.
Oh, he
I
said
believe
you
they all
talked,
wanna
that
be
you talked to him.
reappointed.
Huh?
They all wanna be reappointed.
They all wanna be reappointed?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Chris Roast, Jim Demento, Dave Shower,
Not on the list.
and Al Kitchen to the Park and Rec Commission with a term to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Okay, motion and a
John
second.
Dunleavy, there should be a John Dunleavy on the list.
John Dunleavy?
I
Yeah,
will do them separate. We have an motion in a second. Let's
Yeah.
not backtrack.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, what do you got, John Dunleavy?
Dunleavy.
All right, so I make a motion that we appoint John Dunleavy to the Parks and Rec Commission with a term to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint as the Sexual Harassment Grievance Officer Mr. Mike Farrell, Town Administrator, with a term to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint to the statewide anti-terrorism unified response network the following individuals: Donald Cudmore, Lieutenant Scott Hatch, Fred A. Mitchell, all with terms to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint to the Substance Abuse Advisory Board
It's actually a panel.
panel, the following individuals: Doug Dawes, Selectman, Donald Cudmore, Police Chief, Fred Mitchell, Fire Chief, Pam Lundquist, School Committee, and Carol Jacobs, Superintendent of Schools.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes,
Just 6/30/18.
Pam is not there as a member of the school committee, she's there as a public member for
Okay.
a company that she, or an entity that she founded.
All right, 6/30/18.
6/30/18, yep.
Right.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this is what I wanted to see, put Phil on, but he left. See if he was interested. We may have to do that a little bit later on. Recreational Path Committee, appointees, Ian Dan Weiss Boyd, Julie Coolidge. Now, is Jeff Wade still? Janet, have you talked to him? He's moving.
Right, but we haven't received a resignation.
I will appoint them, then I'll just resign. Jeff Wade, Christian Roop, and Sandra Martin, all with terms to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint to the School Building Committee the following individuals: Joe Bonavita, Tilly Evangelista, Pam Lundquist, Peter Durkee, Jeff Wade, George Comiskey, Ellie Sinkowitz, Michelle Smith, Kerry Strauss, Eric Zadina, as voting members to the School Building Committee with terms to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion?
Yeah, when is this board coming to an end? Like this school building committee coming to an end?
As soon as the audit, the MSBA audit is complete.
Oh, God, you're gonna be on there for another 3 years, Joe.
Yeah, but we don't meet or anything like that, so we're just waiting for these things. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstention from me.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint to the School Building Committee non-voting members: Mike Farrell, Carol Jacobs, Margaret Mayer, Peter Lucia, and Suzanne Sutherland, all with terms to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Wow, sealer of measurement,
Need you
Wally.
to hold off on that.
Wally's not coming back, huh?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but I.
Is he gonna come in front of us?
It's not necessary, but
Okay. Private discussion between you and the chair. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint to the Stormwater Management Committee Deborah Rogers, Steve Pajemski, John Cashel, Peter Durkee, and Mike Farrell, all with terms to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we appoint to as our town council, Copeland and Page, with term to expire 6/30/2018.
Do I have a second? Anybody?
Crickets?
Anybody, second? Anybody at all?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, second, discussion?
Yeah. Do we normally go out after a certain period of time? I know it's recommended to, every so many years, you know, to go out to new auditors, to new town council. Have we ever done that? And I'm not saying that this is a reflection on anybody. I'm just
That's a good
curious
question.
what.
Not
what's
since
how-
I have been town administrator, so that's.
They have done it since I've been here.
Yeah.
So,
They've what?
they have done since I've been here. It was probably right before you started. I think Steve Delaney, they had
Okay.
gone out to.
So maybe we should think about just inquiring for next year. You know,
Be good to
I
bid
mean,
it
if
out,
we're
I
not-
agree.
what's that?
Good to bid it out. see-
Yeah, it's
see
good
what-
to. Yeah, it's always
I
good just to.
Also agree.
So.
Any other further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint to the Traffic Review Committee Gary Fowler, Peter Durkee, and Kevin M. DeFio, all with terms to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to appoint as the Assistant Treasurer / Collector Pam Rogers with a term to expire 6/30/2020.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint as the Veterans District Representative Douglas Dawes, term to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody abstained?
Yeah, you should abstain on that, Doug.
All right, I'll abstain, but I say aye. Aye, I'll abstain. Now, I have a question here. This Veterans Graves Officer, I don't know what they actually do. However, the state of the graves, veterans' graves, are in deplorable condition. The monies that are assigned, I think it's $4,000, that the graveyards can ask from the Board of Selectmen, is supposed to go towards the care of veterans' graves, and I think that it's really just going towards the mowing of the cemeteries. So, I know you gave me a write-up on time on that, but if, Janet, if you could give me another description of what the Veterans Graves Officer is, and we may want to consider appointing someone there to work with the cemeteries.
Question on that. How did that become the budget for maintenance as opposed to restoring graves?
Oh, it's been there for
A long
a
time, yeah.
really long time, so I can't tell you how we got there.
Well, it's probably maintenance of the graves, because if you don't cut the grass, you're not gonna see the graves, so.
Well, right now, what happens
Yeah.
with the footstones, and some veterans don't actually have,
Yeah, they fall.
you know,
I know.
monuments.
Gotcha.
They just have the plaque.
Right.
And the grass is growing up over them. There was one that I found when we were placing flags, it only had this much of the plaque showing.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
had to kick the,
Yeah.
so we need them to go in there with edges or something. It's a good scout project, you know?
I don't mind, if I may.
Absolutely.
I did a seminar, I think back in May, down at the South Byfield Cemetery, which is in Georgetown. And we raised a couple stones. We had somebody come out and show us just how to do it properly, how to conserve, and that's basically what they're working down there. And they're working on identifying and trying to conserve what you can conserve of the grave. So that is being done down South Byfield Cemetery. And it would be good to see it perhaps done. As you mentioned, a lot of it, I think, is just over the years. It's gone to mowing, but that's the type of thing that's just after years you don't realize. I mean, we took a stone. I mean, these things are 3 feet tall, and there was only 8 inches of it sticking out of the ground. It's settled, plus the ground comes up. They said, watch out. you'll perhaps find glass when you're digging. And sure enough, we did, because I guess years ago, what they do, they'd go down there with a mason jar with flowers and put it in there. And it'd just get, and it'd just work its way down into the ground.
But just over
It's a
time,
good point, but
over time, what, we're giving the cemeteries money when they ask for it, for the upkeep of veterans' graves, and it's not fully utilized for that. You know, but it would be a project, it would be a big project to go in and find them, especially the bronze placards.
I think you.
In Edger.
Who's running the
There are
cemeteries?
some on the historical
Well, that
committee,
would-
I think, that are looking to identify a lot of the veterans' graves and things of that sort.
Well, they
Who
have,
runs the cemeteries?
I think,
Harmony has a board.
Do they have their own
Trustee.
board?
right, but I think Dave Bogdan might be
Yeah,
the
he's,
chair of that.
It's the content.
I don't know who, well, you have the
Byfield.
cemetery committee at South Byfield.
Yes, I mean, it's typically, at South Byfield, it's a committee, it's made up
Right.
of owners. I mean, if you buy a plot, you now have an option you will now get notified of, we run just like this board does. We just call it a board of directors, you know, but you have to be an owner.
Well, we may wanna consider, I'll ask some of the other guys in the VFW and American Legion about this and see if
Two
we,
guys that step up for this would be great.
yeah.
Yeah, two people
Yeah.
to step up.
That's why you say, you know, you may find out in some of these other cemeteries that you also may have plots there, just like I
Right.
said, you have plots
Well,
in
in the
South
past,
Byfield.
Billy Wall and Armin Susi, who Armin's 100, he'll be 101 this year.
Post game.
And he still fits in his World War II uniform. But, and then Billy Wall just passed away last year. Did that a lot, but it's, so we may wanna consider something like that and put the call out. I'll talk to the guys at the VFW and American Legion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint to the zoning board of appeals Jeffrey Moore with a term to expire 6/30/2022.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint to the zoning board of appeals as an alternate member of the board Sharon Freeman with a term to expire 6/30/2018.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was it.
Okay.
I didn't realize zoning is a 5-year.
Same as
it's a
planning.
5-year sentence.
That's a tough one.
You know, I think you need it because of what they go through. It's,
All right, does anybody have anything else to add before we?
I will
adjourn?
not be at the next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, can I bring up something on old business? I meant to bring the letter, I got a draft of the letter that we had talked about back in May when, David wasn't here and I was chairing and we had,
Right, we were gonna talk about that tonight, Gary, but, let's put that off to another meeting.
Okay.
We had such a big agenda tonight that,
no, I
we're not
understand.
gonna-
I just,
we're
I
not
didn't
gonna
see it
amend it.
on the agenda, so that's
Yeah.
why I,
no, we were talking about putting it on, it's just that we had such a big agenda tonight that,
we'll put it on next.
yeah.
Fine.
We're actually gonna put it on for August, okay, because I want Dave to be present, okay, I want all of us to be present at the meeting, so, because he won't be here in July, our next meeting after that is August. So we will talk about it in August.
Can I ask why we're putting it off? I mean, we voted, I saw a draft of the letter. Why are we now putting off signing it till August?
Well, because again, we were gonna talk about it tonight, we had too big of an agenda, and again, I wanna, make sure that the whole board is present to take a look at it, agree on it, and then we'll decision it.
Decision?
Well, decision meaning sign it. So I wanna see if anybody has anything to add
Well,
or anything like that.
I have yet to see that draft, so.
Well, then that's, that's, I don't
Have
think
you
we're
seen
ready. I was told what was on it, I haven't seen it, no.
David?
I seen a draft, or I had talked to Mike about it briefly
Dave was the chair
at the time.
and
Right,
I was directed to put together a draft and I
Right.
gave it to David.
right. And that's as
Well,
far as I thought it went. I didn't think it went to anybody else.
I
I voted,
asked- I
I voted
asked
against
for
it,
Well,
so I'm
we know
not
what
signing
you-
it anyway.
Yeah, we know what you voted, I just
Right.
wanted to know if anybody.
No, I
had
had
seen
asked
it.
Mike to put a
I
draft
haven't seen
together,
it.
and I thought I was the only one. You got it, Gary? I didn't.
I asked for it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I asked if there was one written.
Okay.
I think we should see it so we can read it. and if you
Right, I think
prepare
that's
to
at the
discuss
August
it.
meeting,
Yeah.
and then figure out what we wanna put in the letter.
Sure.
I thought it looked fine as written, that's all
Yeah. If you want, if you want to see it before, then that's fine too, so. All right, anybody else?
I got one quick
Sure.
thing. So at the last meeting, we spoke about, Economic Development Committee. I think you had requested, Dave, that I send a copy of that spreadsheet that kinda outlined what the, you know, who was responsible for what, outstanding questions, all that
Right.
good stuff. So I emailed that to you guys tonight. If we could review it, and could we put it on the agenda for the next meeting to vote, to have that, in use with the Economic Development Committee, because I know our first meeting is the next day, so July 11th. If the board so chooses to adopt
I'll
that.
take a look at it.
So, and I will send a copy to Janet, she can print it out.
Thank you.
I'll respond to you directly.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So,
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody?
Alright.
I'm assuming?
yeah.
Oh, no, let's go to midnight.
All right. Good night, Georgetown. Thank you for tuning in.
And sign up to
Janet, I'm gonna give you, I don't need all this.